One Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, live from the Comcast Business Studios, 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, the John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's all right to have mixed feelings. It's all right to feel good, feel apprehensive about another. Free agency brings that on. You don't know who a certain player is. I know I spent many minutes yesterday reading about Bryce Huff, because what I could have told you about Bryce Huff probably could have filled a shot glass yesterday. But the Bryce Huff acquisition brings questions for me. The idea of Saquon Barkley being here, again, if it was comparable money to bringing back DeAndre Swift, yeah, I'm good with it. I like Saquon Barkley a lot as a player, and I think it's dynamic. I just look at it this way. Are the Eagles better with Saquon Barkley than with DeAndre Swift? Yeah, they are. They're a better team. So to me, I guess that's the improvement. Is it an issue of where I would want to say you've got X amount of resources and you're going to spend and improve? Is the move for Saquon going to preclude you from doing any kind of other move on the defensive side of the ball? It shouldn't with a mastermind of the cap like Howie Roseman. But the stuff I've read about Bryce Huff, honestly, it has me sort of scratching my head that I hope the talent evaluation is incredibly astute, because what I see is a guy who is now going to be asked to take a huge step in what he's always been. And do I know if he can do that? No. And no, neither do you. But to me, I would have thought there would be bigger needs to worry about addressing first than addressing a big, high-priced running back and a defensive end, especially when you've got two under contract on the roster who you know have a much better resume of being available to play, of being not situational players than Bryce Huff is. I don't want to go back in and watch the chef make the dinner. And I've said this before. I'll evaluate everything when I see the entire plan. So I don't want to go in and see how the dinner's being made. I want to wait till it's presented to me and I'll taste it. But for right now, I'm sort of all over the place because I love Saquon Barkley as a player, and I could see the potential and the excitement. But was it truly necessary? And was in any way DeAndre Swift a problem last year? And was that part of what caused the 1-6 down the stretch? I don't know. But for right now, I'm waiting. And I'm waiting for other shoes to drop. Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning. Yeah, kind of surprising, right? I understand the excitement. Saquon Barkley, everybody, that was the big-name running back. They went and got him. Okay, you got to make sure that the production factor is going to be more than what DeAndre Swift gave you, because you probably paid a little bit more for that. Chicago was right on DeAndre Swift, so it looked like he was out the door.
Well, he knew he was gone, I guess, right?
Yeah, so, look, from Saquon Barkley, what do you need? You need 250 carries probably. You need 1,200 yards, maybe another 400 or 500 yards receiving. All those things that he was early on that have kind of fallen by the wayside, you have to recoup that. And he's playing with a horrible offense in New York.
Correct.
And I think he can be that near those numbers that I just laid out. I mean, Swift, he got you combined like 1,300 yards last year from scrimmage, over 1,000 rushing, over 200 receiving. That has to be upped by Saquon Barkley.
Must be.
You want to get him the ball. Let's not forget his rookie year, and I know it was a little while ago. He had 91 catches, Saquon Barkley. Like, he can catch the ball. So hopefully they're looking to do that. And then you look at, you paid pretty good money to a guy that right now is going to be a rotational edge rusher for you. Okay, that's a little scary.
I still am scared by that one.
Yeah, are you going to get rid of one of the other two guys to get assets? Because if you don't, and you don't re-sign them, well, then you're just losing them for nothing. I don't know. Maybe that's how he's thinking. Like, they're under contract for this year. Now we have 3 rotational edge rushers that I like. This could be Howie talking. And so be it. We'll approach the other 2 guys when the season's over. We'll use them for this year. And now you have another rotational guy there. Okay.
I like that. See, I like that plan.
Yeah, I don't. Right, exactly.
I'm all in on that plan. If that's the plan, then Huff doesn't bother me at all.
No, if you just look at it that way, forget money and forget business, and then he was told to ask for a trade and this. If you add Huff to Sweat and Reddick, and you say you have 3 rotational guys that can get to a quarterback pretty well, okay, yeah, I'm okay there, and then deal with whatever you have to deal with after the season, or maybe during this. I don't, however you want to play that out. But the concern that comes to me is, okay, you made the splash with a name in Barkley. He's got to produce better than Swift did, and Swift produced pretty well, but you didn't address safety and you didn't address linebacker.
And I don't know. We don't know that that's not coming.
I hope it has to come.
It has to come.
I thought it would be the first to come, but it didn't.
And that's what I wonder is the shoes dropping in the order that they did just is what's concerning to me here. Because I was trying to do a little bit of math. And I know, Pat, you and I both would love Patrick Queen. Would love that on the shopping list. But most likely Patrick Queen and C.J. Gardner-Johnson don't come if that's some of the talk. Getting both would be a real squeeze to try to be able to fit players under the cap. I'm just surprised the order that which this has gone down. And good morning to you.
I was also very surprised. I didn't expect them to address running back so quickly because they don't. Have they ever?
No.
Have they ever been in the market for a running back in the first wave of free agency?
I guess,
in the first day?
What's his name?
DeMarco wasn't it.
DeMarco wasn't it. He was late.
He waited.
Yeah.
So I was very surprised. I kind of thought the Saquon Barkley stuff was a pipe dream. But then again, I mean, I clearly completely mishandled or whatever the word is, misjudged the running back market because pretty early on, running backs started flying off the boards. It started with DeAndre Swift, and next thing you know, it's like Josh Jacobs is gone, DeAndre Swift's gone, and Austin Eckler went, and it started drying up pretty fast. Devin Singletary went, and next thing you know, you're like, wow, I expected some of these guys to be still out there in May and June because all we ever hear is the NFL doesn't value the running back position, and I guess this has been a renaissance because clearly they do.
It's great. It's a great thing to have Saquon Barkley. It's awesome, and he's a hell of a player. But to me, the stuff that kept the Eagles down the stretch from being a successful team, it wasn't DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift wouldn't even be on my suspects list as far as people that I would be looking to say problem. If you start pointing fingers, DeAndre Swift wasn't even there. So to me, saying the first thing we got to do is go out and hit a home run by signing a high-priced running back leaves me a little questioning going, I don't understand where that priority came from.
Yeah, but the writing was kind of on the wall for all of us, wasn't it? Like, I did a hit with Dylan yesterday for our social media stuff. And when I said, he said, what do you think is going to be the first signing? I said, well, I would assume it's going to be the defensive backfield, but Saquon Barkley's coming. And we talked about it yesterday. It just seemed like the writing was on the wall. He was coming.
It seemed like there was a lot of buzz on it.
Yeah, and sure enough, I'm listening to the best show ever yesterday in the car, and I'm sitting waiting for somebody, and it popped up on my phone, and they announced it right away. Barkley was. I wasn't surprised. I got to say, I wasn't. I thought they were going to do that. I was surprised that we got no news out of defensive backfield, though.
Yeah, I just and look, I am not in any way a salary cap expert, but just trying to do math about projected contracts for guys like Patrick Queen, who was on my shopping list. That was a guy at linebacker that I wanted, and I'm honestly surprised he's not off the board because if you're talking about a guy like Huff compared to a Patrick Queen, Huff is a bunch of wishing and hoping that the guy can be a less than a situational player. Whereas a guy like Queen, you can plug him in and you can use him immediately for a multitude of tasks and a multitude of snaps. I'm the priority list of shopping, and we want to hear from you too at 610-632-0975 if you wanted to get in early with us. To me, the priority list was a little off. I'm a little concerned by that.
It was surprising. It was. And yesterday as news starts falling, you're thinking, okay, where is it? CJGJ, where are you?
Yeah, I was thinking something.
I don't know. Justin Simmons, where are you? What's going on? And you're just waiting. And it didn't come about. So maybe today's defense day. Maybe it's the day where you go in the secondary and you start plucking some guys out of there. Patrick Queen, man,
I mean, that would be
yesterday,
fantastic.
The first phone call I got after Saquon Barkley was taken, I swear to God, picked up the phone. Where's Patrick Queen? Got to get Patrick Queen. I was like, yeah, I'd love that,
I would love it.
Yeah,
I would love a young ascending linebacker that you can actually buy his prime. And that's one of the things with Huff is I guess they're saying we're going to buy his prime. But again, if you look at the numbers, this guy is a truly situational pass rusher.
Yeah,
he is not
42% of their snaps last year. 42.
How about less than half of what, if you look at the numbers, he played less than half of Josh Sweat and less than half of Hassan Reddick.
And they were overused last year.
Yes, they were.
That's why
yes.
If you just look at it, forget numbers, and I know you can't, but forget money. If you're just looking at it as a football team and you say, all right, you brought him in, you can cut down on their snaps, and now you have rotational 3 guys that can get to a quarterback, that's pretty cool. Because they are better at way less snaps than they are being out on the field all the time.
Absolutely.
Both Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick.
Part of that, though, could be thinking that you could find it with Saquon Barkley and what he could bring to this offense, Pat, could allow them to sustain drives, could allow them to leave the defense on the sideline more so they're not gassed like they were last year. You've got a guy who could potentially help you control the football.
You should.
And keep things moving.
If not, there's a giant problem. I don't know how their offense didn't get better yesterday.
Right.
He kind of is a do-it-all back. He blocks. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He runs. I love DeAndre Swift, but he's an upgrade. I don't know how they got worse. So, yeah, if they can't sustain drives, then something went horribly wrong, and a lot of people are getting fired.
We are going to hear from you. You can get in early here with us, 610-632-0975. We have ideas about what do the Eagles need to do moving forward, but we want to hear your reaction. And a big, high-priced running back with a lot of tread off the tires and an injury. Is that what you wanted, and is that what you would have done? The deal isn't that bad, though. It looks like a 2-year contract when you look at it. We'll talk about some of those numbers and more. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. We want to hear your thoughts on the moves of the first day of free agency. And again, maybe it's truthful or not. Andrew's telling me that I am riding the fence. So he says, you got to take an opinion. He says you can't wait till free agency's all over to have an opinion. I said, look, I gave you my opinion on how it's all coming together. I like Saquon Barkley a lot. But if you tell me that you signed Saquon Barkley and you threw all this money at Bryce Huff, and that's going to preclude you from a Patrick Queen, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which, by the way, if I had my choice, it would be Patrick Queen, C.J. Gardner-Johnson would have been 1-2 of priorities in free agency, not paying the highest running back contract on the market. That would have not been my agenda. Knowing how he knows how to work the cap, he maybe has a great plan, and we'll see how it works out. Scott, you're first up in Philly. Good morning, Scott.
Hello, fellas. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
Nice to hear from you. Thank you, buddy.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So you guys are making me nervous because it's like you're riding the fence. You ain't making a decision on whether or not you actually like it. Like, I love it. It's
What do you love?
We wanted Bijan last year, right?
No.
We got Saquon. This draft coming up was so weak. It's so weak with running backs. I think Blake Crum is the best running back in the draft. I got an alert at 11:55 that said the Bears are going to make a strong push at Swift. He was gone by 12:01. They started falling off, like Pat said, off the board quickly.
Well, that's because the Eagles obviously told DeAndre Swift, we're not bringing you back.
Well, they offered him. Well, I read that John Clark said he offered him a deal, and they offered him twice. They actually offered him a deal, supposedly. I'm not a pro, but they said they offered him a deal when they traded for him, and they offered him a deal again, but he wanted to test free agency.
He wanted to test free agency, and that's it. And the thing is, you can't do the Bijan thing, because the Bijan thing, you would have had a cheap running back for 4 years. That's a completely different thing than paying a guy who already has 6 years of tread off the tire, plus his college career, and you're paying him top dollar in the market. That's a completely different comparison.
The top dollar part was because Houston didn't want to get out the way and wanted to keep bidding against us, and we had to go to a bidding war. We had to lead here with something.
You said we had to, Scott. Why do you think they had to?
Because again, Swift went, like Pat said. Swift went first, then Jacobs went, then. They were flying off the board like flies. So at some point, our running back was gone. So what were we going to do? Get A.J. Dillon?
Well, what I'm going to tell you is you didn't have to let Swift go.
He didn't want to be there. You can't force the guy to be.
Well, no. You could have offered him. Look, when you were willing to offer Saquon Barkley, you obviously could have offered significantly less and gotten DeAndre Swift.
Possibly.
Because that's the offer he got from the Bears, and he took. So I would have to believe the Eagles could. All they would have had to have done is get close to that.
I'll go one more point before I get to the defense quickly. I hear you, and let's just say for the argument they wanted Saquon but didn't expect the price to go so high because again Houston was just in the way. So maybe we overpaid a little bit, and they fell in love with Saquon and just couldn't back out at that point because they lost out on Swift. So I love it. As far as the defense is concerned. Last year, the defense, I was a big critic of them, but last year the defense was actually strong to start the season into the midway point. They had one game against the Rams where they didn't let Stafford throw for more than 50 yards in the second half. I think last year was a lot about coaching, and we got to get younger on defense. You got 3 picks in the top 55. It's a strong defensive draft, a strong defensive
I'm all for it. I think that'd be what we all would be hoping for.
That's a good recipe. Yeah, I'm just looking at the running backs and what they got here. Would you have been okay with a Josh Jacobs? He went for $12 million a year. And that's just under Barkley.
I just don't want to pay. I don't want to pay.
All right,
much.
Just go for the player here. So Jacobs and Barkley basically same
I think
contract.
They're both great players.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Austin Eckler gets you about $6 million a year, $5.5 million a year. Would Austin Eckler have excited you if you said, yeah, he's coming in to be in the backfield for the Eagles?
If Austin Eckler is coming in here for less than DeAndre Swift?
That's
what I'm saying is yes. If that's the kind of money, it would have. Because to me, that $5-6 million gives you great flexibility on the defensive side of the ball to spend that money. I love Saquon Barkley as a player, but if it precludes me from doing other things, that's not something I'm about.
You made a practice in futility yesterday. You tried to figure out the money system of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, yes. That is correct. That is correct.
I don't know how long you spent on it, but it was wasted time, John. I'm telling you. I don't even try.
We'll wait and see.
Like, I don't, there's no way. You're going to, by the way, we haven't even mentioned that Landon Dickerson signed as the highest paid guard in NFL history yesterday morning.
Where the
hell did they find that money, too?
I love that.
Yeah,
I
do.
love locking that down.
So do I. But, we haven't even talked about that. If you did a thing on money, a practice on, what do they have? What do they have? Did you factor that in also?
Oh, I absolutely
You know what
did.
I mean? Like,
I love that.
If you would have told me yesterday morning, and we were talking about what they're going to do in this free agency, if we'd have said, oh, yeah, by the way, they're going to make Landon Dickerson a $20 million man, we would have been like, oh, crap, where's that go to the cap? So this whole cap thing is crap. It is. With Howie Roseman, it is. It's somehow they find the money. Somehow it's always there. Somehow they're always okay. They just figure it out as well as any team in the league. So, yeah, I don't think a Saquon precludes them from doing anything. Is it a little bit more money than I expected Howie to pay for a running back? Yes, but if you just look at the names and the production that you expect to get, okay, I think I'm okay with it.
The 6 a.m. sponsors, Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. And look, Saquon Barkley's a hell of a professional. And again, as I started with today, you're better with Saquon Barkley than you are with DeAndre Swift. But it's a matter.
Yeah.
I know. I believe he's a better player. I think he's clearly shown he is a more talented. And to me, the pass catching. Are the Eagles going to do that in their offense? Now, Kellen Moore, that's the answer. I saw people yesterday saying, well, the Eagles don't throw to backs, so what does it matter? Kellen Moore does. Kellen Moore loves that. And I have a feeling this is a toy he's going to be able to do great things with, Pat. As long as Saquon's healthy and ready to go, Kellen Moore's going to love having him in the backfield.
That was kind of my first thought, too, is I can't wait to see Saquon Barkley and Kellen Moore's offense because I find it hard to believe that Kellen Moore is going to watch tape of what Saquon did that rookie year when he caught so many balls out of the backfield and implement it. Why wouldn't you do that? So, I mean, you've got to do it all back, so do it all. But I'm excited to see him not only catch the ball at the backfield and block and all that, but this is the first time he's in his career he's run behind a competent offensive line. And we don't know what the offensive line is really going to look like without Kelsey, but it's certainly better than anything he's had to work with in New York, and he was putting up numbers. So
no questions asked.
Yeah, I'm real excited to see what he does in this offense.
Frank joins us on the Fanatic. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, fellas. So, John, Saquon, I'm going to tell you what Saquon's going to do for the Eagles.
Okay.
Our receivers are not good at getting separation. They're not good at that. A.J. Brown's a good curl route runner up the middle. My man Devontae Smith is a great route runner, great hands. But they have no separation. Saquon Barkley has that.
They have no separation, Frank?
They don't have the speed to get the separation. No, they don't. No. They cannot separate from D-backs. But with Saquon here, those safeties have to keep an eye on that box. There goes our separation. There goes that play action. It's going to look. We're going to score 35 points a game.
I love Frank, your thought. I love your thought, but the thing is, there was where you just hung yourself to me.
What?
I don't care about defense.
No.
That's ridiculous.
No. We're okay.
No, we're not okay. We were horrendous.
No, because
we were one of the 3 worst in the NFL last year. What are you talking about?
Matthew Patricia stinks.
Okay. What about the players?
Well, the players were playing in a bad scheme. And, John, if you're a professional and you got to go to two schemes that year because of Desai stunk and then Patricia, they don't put the guys in the right position. That's a known fact.
Okay, but you are taking total responsibility, though, away from the players who played like crap. I mean, you're not giving them any of the blame, which is ridiculous.
No, because the Reddick should not be dropping in coverage.
I would agree with that.
Get your quarterback. So, with all that, and Josh Sweat, he's only as good as his counterpart on the other side. So, if Hassan's not getting pressure, Josh Sweat is irrelevant. So, if you drop him,
so you like Huff? You like the Huff signing or not?
Oh, I love Bryce Huff. Love him.
What do you love about Bryce Huff?
He had 10 sacks last
Okay,
year.
yes. Do you know anything about the 10 sacks? How many came against first-team defenses?
John, he was 80% at his position this year. Like, yeah, the quarterback. He was third behind Garrett and T.J. Watt.
He didn't even play. He did not even play, 500 snaps? I mean, he's not. He played half of what Sweat played. He played half of what Hassan Reddick played. We don't know anything, and I don't mean to cry BS on you, but I don't believe you had a doctorate in Bryce Huff, because I don't know. I personally, I raised my hand. I had to go watch video of him and read about him more to know Bryce Huff. And he's a guy who doesn't, in his career, he's not been a guy you can count on for the amount of snaps that they count on Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick for. Not like half. That is, they're asking him to make a huge jump. And that concerns me, Pat, to see a guy go from just being a real situational player to being we're asking you to double your downs.
Yeah, I don't see that's. I don't agree. I don't think they're asking him to double his downs necessarily. I need to see his numbers this season compared to the snap counts of Reddick last year, because 2 years ago, because last year was the first year that I can ever remember where the Eagles just refused to have a rotation at DN. It was Josh Sweat and it was Hassan Reddick, and that was it. And if those guys weren't there and they weren't getting to the quarterback, then ho-hum, because everybody else was getting 10 snaps a game. So I think you're going to see more rotation like we've come to know as Eagles fans than last year. Because last year you had Tweedledee and Tweedledum running your defense.
So you're not fans. I mean, of their work.
No, not at all. No, and I wish them nothing but the worst. And I can't believe that Sean Desai has gotten another job in the NFL because he was so bad. But then again, it's all a buddy system in the NFL, so doesn't matter how bad you are. He made a connection somewhere, and now he's on the staff.
It does.
Sucks.
The funny thing is, some of the stuff I heard yesterday was, look, you didn't pay Huff all this money to come in here and be a backup. Well, guess what? Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat weren't good last year specifically because of what Pat said. They played too much. They simply played too much. You need a rotational thing. So, okay, you paid Huff a lot of money. You played Bryce Huff a lot of money. He's not going to be better than 10 sacks if you just play him 500 snaps. He's probably going to be at his best when he's playing, like he did with the Jets, 50 snaps a game. 50% of the snaps a game. If we're not looking at money, I'll say it again. This rotational thing is pretty cool, and they might use a draft pick to get another edge rusher. So you do have to see how it plays out.
Well, here's the numbers for you, Pat. Hassan Reddick has averaged 800 snaps a year. Last 3 years. Last year in Carolina, it was 805. For 2022 in Philly, 791. Last year, he played 30 more snaps over a 17-game season. So honestly, sort of like the Aaron Nola thing, Bob.
What about
he played
Joshua?
one more. He played a little less than 2 more snaps a game last year compared to the year before. So that talking point really isn't valid.
Well, it's
not valid.
I mean, tell me Josh Sweat's.
Well, I'll
That's
find
gonna tell
Josh
me a lot
Sweat's for you.
And I say that because Hassan Reddick towards the end was dropping back in coverage, and they weren't. I mean, there were plenty of plays where he wasn't even on the field. So I
get you, but I keep hearing the talking point of, well, now he's they're not. The snap count was so up last year. No, it wasn't. He averages 800 snaps a year. He played just under 800 the year before with those fourth quarters off, and he played 30 more snaps last year. I mean, there was no real problem with the amount of snaps he had. He less than 2 a game more last year than the year before.
I need to see game by game. It might have been the hand situation, but I don't remember seeing anyone else out there.
Yeah,
I mean, who else played defensive end? And then, as I said, towards the end, when you had Pencil Boy come in and run your defense, he had him dropping back into coverage if he was on the field. So I don't know. I think you're just going to see more rotation than you've seen in previous year than last year. I think you're going to see a more traditional Philadelphia Eagles defense where Bryce Huff isn't going to be asked to bump it up so much. And I think they're just going with the idea of if he had 10 sacks with that many snaps, then you up it, and it's probably not going to get worse.
I don't, and I see that's one of those maths that I can't go with, Bob, is that, well, if you double a guy's snaps, then you can double his production. Or you can get, if he, you figure, look, he got 10 snaps on this. I think that could be he got 10 snaps because he was ultra fresh.
Yeah,
because he didn't have to play a bunch of snaps, which, by the way, I hope everybody gets to play less snaps. But every year, Hassan Reddick plays 800 snaps. It averages out to around 800 every single year, no matter what he's doing.
Yeah, I would be okay. Reddick's now 27 years old. I think he looked beat up last year. I mean, I think those guys looked worn down the way they're having them go one-on-one all the time with few schemes. I would love it if you go with this rotation of guys. And, if Reddick and Sweat go down into the high 700s and Huff goes up into the 500s, something like that. But you can't tell me that a fresher Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat aren't going to be better for you.
Oh, it would be fantastic if they were.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd love it. But they don't. But the idea that it's going to change get them down to like 650 snaps is just not valid. Because they don't. That's not what he's going to play. They're going to require him more if they want him. I would love, and Pat, you brought it up in your notes. I would love to see these two guys stay, and I think one of them was absolutely staying. But I'd love to see them both be staying now with Huff. Then I think it's a total home run hit.
Yeah,
if you do that,
I don't really get the logic, I guess, of trading either of them, really. But, Brian Burns went for like a second and a fifth. I'd rather just keep you at that point. If I'm not getting a first.
And you're not.
I don't get the logic of just letting them go. I'm keeping them both because, yeah, you add all three of those guys into a rotation. Nolan Smith ends up taking, you figure, a step. Then your defensive ends are pretty dangerous. My fear is they're going to go from like 70 sacks to 30 in 2 years. And, I mean, luckily they've addressed defensive end with the Bryce Huff signing, but I just don't get the idea of like, all right, well, we got to get rid of one now. I'd love to see them bring both of them back if it could work. But, I think they're probably going to end up getting rid of one of them. And I think that person's probably going to be Josh Sweat.
And I just don't think you're going to. I don't think you're going to get much. I think it's going to be a third-day pick. If you do get rid of him, I think it's a third-day pick. And to me, that's not going to. I don't know that that's going to be the.
Well, you have to look at it. Is a fourth-round pick or below good enough to get rid of one of these guys for this season?
And
I mean, you get nothing if you hold on to these guys, right? They leave, they play one more year, and then they're gone if you don't re-sign them.
And then
you
get the compensatory pick.
Yeah. Well, so what's worth it? This rotation that you have now for 1 year, or getting rid of and getting a fourth, fifth-round pick down the line? I think I'd rather stay with this year.
So would I. Barrett Brooks joined yesterday from MDC Sports Philadelphia, joined the best show ever, and he talked about the Bryce Huff acquisition and sort of what it means for this Eagles defense.
We're looking at his future production as opposed to what he's done. I mean, he had 10 sacks last year, but he's a part-time player. He's going to be partly perfect in his defense because Vic Fangio wants a defense in which he has three or four linebackers on the field at the same time, like a 3-4 defense. And he needs guys that are quick, get up the field, plus if they have to, drop back in pass coverage or rush off the outside. That's the type of style of defense that he wants to run. And with him and Smith on the outside, they can do that. I'm just a little bit mad that we're not, making Sweat and Reddick in the plans also. I believe we can still keep that guy, but if we can keep Sweat and Hassan Reddick, it could be even better on the defensive side of the ball.
I love the thought process. I mean, I would not feel comfortable going into the draft and getting the third person there. That's why I don't believe for 1 second that you're going to see Reddick and Sweat both leave. But if the Reddick number isn't, and that was one of the discussions yesterday with NFL Live, if the Reddick number doesn't get adjusted somehow with an extension or some sort, it would be really hard to keep him with the cap hit. He's got the highest cap hit on the team.
Yeah, he's $21 million.
So I mean, they would have to manipulate that number in some way to be able to keep him.
Who would have to do that?
Well, I think Howie would have. Yeah, but you got to get him to stay. Sign it. Yeah, but you got to give him an extension that he's willing to sign.
No, I hear you.
And he's looking to cash in. He wants. It's obvious he's wanting to cash in.
Sure, he's 27 years old. Yeah.
And I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Well, no, what is he? 30? Isn't he 30?
Hassan Reddick?
He
No,
almost
he's 27.
27. He'll be 28 in the year or not?
Believe
I'm
so.
trying to think of how
Hassan
long the
Reddick,
contract.
age 29. I'm sorry.
29.
He's 29. Yeah.
I was going to say he's going to be playing at 30.
Yeah, he'll be 30 in September. My fault.
He's playing at 30, so I'd be like, if I was buying 27 through 31, I'm all in on a huge extension. And I want Hassan Reddick here, but it's got to be at the right number.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't learn your lesson last year, when you said, oh, let's double down on older guys in their 30s, it doesn't work in the NFL. It's not a strategy that causes you great success. So if there's a way, and I don't believe that, I believe a trade may have already been made if Hassan Reddick, if it was out there for him the money that he was looking for. I believe a trade may have already gone down. If he was going to get the contract that he was looking for, they already know what the Eagles' compensation requests are. So teams would be like, oh, yeah, sure. You kidding me? I'll sign Hassan Reddick for a big extension, and we'll give up that draft capital to the Eagles. I don't believe the market's that strong. I just really don't. And hopefully they can find some halfway point on this thing.
Yeah.
I want him here.
Yeah, so do I. I think everybody does. I would love all three of them here. Whether you bring in free agents, sign them, and then extend Reddick and say, yep, that's how we had it planned all the way. Okay, then Josh Sweat's out there. Well, okay, prove yourself in this last year. Maybe we'll bring you back. Maybe we won't.
Play a whole season for us.
Yeah, and I understand that if you don't trade him, you're losing out on, like I said, a fifth-round pick or something like that. Okay, I'd rather have those three rotational guys this year than worry about a fifth-round draft pick down the road.
A crazy, crazy first day. Now the question is, what is the next step and what should be the priority? We'll get to that, plus your thoughts at 610-632-0975. Your chance to win tickets to not only to see the Sixers play the Clippers, but to take part in our Fanatic Knockout Tournament is going to come up in the 7 o'clock hour today. So stick around. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update. and HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
So the 2023 season, where Saquon Barkley with the Giants. If you're looking at rushing yards, it really is a strange number. 51 yards on 12 carries. Not bad at all. 63 yards on 17 carries. 93 yards on 24 carries. 100-yard rushing game. The receiving yards a little bit different. 12, 29, 4, 41, 23, 57. So the top receiving game was 57 yards. The top rushing game was 128, and that was the only game where he rushed for 100 yards. The second highest rush rate of a game that he put together last year was 93. Again, crappy Giants team, which is a major part of it, injured for 3 of the games. It's not numbers that are eye-popping. Let's just say for last year.
He only averaged 3.9 a carry last year. His lowest since he's been in the NFL. That was just such a mess, that Giants team.
They're terrible.
I mean, the quarterbacks suck. Your offensive line, they should have addressed it 10 years ago, and they keep kicking the can down the lane. Their offensive line sucks. When your quarterback play is that bad and you have one star player, I bet you pretty much every team that they played said, top of their whiteboard, stop Saquon Barkley. 8 men in the box and stop him. You can't do that here.
Barrett Brooks on NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday, and he talked about how Saquon is going to open things up for everybody else.
What he brings to this offense is explosiveness now. You know, we didn't have the big plays that we've had last year, and that's because we didn't have the running game that we had before. He will allow you now to really get those explosive plays, which really helped when we went to the Super Bowl. Remember all those plays we pushed down the field to AJ and all those guys? Well, we did that because we had to keep that safety. Right now, teams try to put it 2 high safeties over the top to stop those explosive plays. Well, you can't do that with Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Now you got to go in, bring a safety down, allocate resources to stop the run. That's going to open it up for everything on the outside. So Smitty and Brown will have a great season because of the mere fact that we have a running back who can catch the ball in the backfield, and the mere fact that we have a running back who can run in between the tackles outside and do all those things we haven't had. Oh, and plus he can pass block. It's only going to help Jalen Hurts and his ability to go out there and be that multi-versatile quarterback that he did 2 years ago.
Last year was 18 rush attempts a game for the most part, on average over the 14 games, and 4 targets in the passing game. But with really, really, again, crappy things. I don't know if you can actually even do the statistical comparison, Pat, because of how bad the Giants were, as to what
You can. Like, that offensive line is brutal.
And they didn't have the targets in the passing game.
No. They
that
didn't
are
have
going
a
to draw the
quarterback.
attention. Correct.
They have Tommy DeVito. Like, no, you can't.
Hey, we like Tommy, right?
No,
He helped get us in the playoffs.
yeah, we like Tommy because he's not good. No, they had nothing. I mean, their offense was Saquon. And even Darren Waller was out for a lot of the season. So their offense was Saquon Barkley. That was it. You can't compare what he's going to do with this offensive line versus what he's been doing with Drek and Blah.
Drek and Blah.
That's the best way you can describe the offensive line situation with the Giants. It's been awesome.
And to Daniel Jones, not the same threat.
No.
And then Tommy DeVito, and even Tyrod Taylor did look good against the Eagles, so that Eagles defense. I'm worried about the next steps.
Everybody looked good against that Eagles defense.
The next steps is what I'm worried about. And I'm going to tell you, do you think the majority of fans, and if you want to jump in on this, you can at 610-632-0975. The majority of the fans watched those last 7 games and said, yep, running back. That's got to be the big expenditure. Running back. I didn't. I absolutely did not. And by the way, I never do. but investing heavily in the running back is just counter to what, as a fan, what I want my team to do.
Yeah, but like I said, when I put out the other names there, does it excite you? Like, would you have liked an Eckler in here for less money? DeAndre Swift, maybe, but he was out the door. I mean, it didn't look like he was going to stay here, and they weren't agreeing on anything. So if you go that way, okay, great. I'm fine with Barkley. Listen to these numbers.
Okay.
Over the last 5 years, 4.6, 5.3, 5.5, 4.9, 4.6. That's your average rushing attempt by Eagles starting running backs over the last 5 years. That's about a 5-yard average. That you put somebody in there, you're going to get yards. You're going to get good yards. How the coaching staff decides to use them, we'll see. But we talk about this offensive line, and it's going to be different without Kelsey and on. I have to give you a proposition on this because you weren't here last week and we talked about it. But 4.6, 5.3, 5.5, 4.9, 4.6. And now you're putting Saquon Barkley and Sanders and DeAndre Swift.
And DeAndre Swift and Gainwell. And,
no, those I just took those two guys, the starting running backs, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't do the team. I did starting running backs. You put Barkley in with this kind of offensive line, even though there's going to be changes. I'm good with it. That's the name out of those that I mentioned to you that I would have taken.
I think there's one difference, too, that works in Barkley's favor in the Barkley argument, is he's a home run hitter, which I don't believe, for the most part, DeAndre Swift and Kenny Gainwell are not. He is if he gets through to the second level of a defense, he might be gone. He has that. I mean, he has that ability to do it. Not that DeAndre Swift was he was chopped liver. I mean, I thought he was fantastic in this offense. And I just am, and I look at what the Bears paid him, and I believe if the Eagles offered him close to that or a little less than that, he would have been here. And I would have been absolutely fine with it. And I think it's less of an investment. The one good thing is, though, the way Howie structured the contract, it is like a 2-year deal. It honestly is.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-year major investment. And, Pat, you always said it. Jamie had always said it before, the old, don't worry about Howie with the numbers. He did another nice contract with Saquon. It's more than I would want to pay a running back. But if he delivers to what he's delivered, it's a fantastic deal.
Absolutely. I don't think any of us expected him to be that in on a running back because he's kind of found value where other teams haven't in the past couple of years, and he's gone kind of bargain bin shopping a little bit, getting running backs for 5th-round picks and whatnot. But if Saquon lives up to what you think he's going to be for this offense, and this offense should be putting up 30-plus points a game,
they should,
with ease. So, and you brought it up earlier. It's a great point. They're going to be able to keep the defense on the sidelines. So, I don't see a lot of downside to it.
Does this eliminate the tush-push need?
Might even make it better.
Saquon Barkley, though, he should be. If you can't get 4th and 1s and 3rd and 1s with Saquon Barkley in your backfield, you can't do it. I'm wondering about that with Jalen Hurts.
Taking too many hits.
Yeah, and not wanting them to get hit.
Well, hell, put Saquon Barkley under center then and push
That's what I'm saying, is the idea is that Saquon doesn't eliminate. Look, Saquon Barkley in short yardage, a huge asset for this team also.
Yeah.
And a 3-down back.
Well, that's one of my favorite things, and I labeled this on our sheet today. This makes this a kiss offense to me. I approve this deal with a kiss is how I put it. Keep it simple, stupid. He's a 3-down back. Do you want to splice in a Kenny Gainwell every once in a while? Sure. That's what your backup backs are for. And that's, you do a little lightning to somebody's thunder, all of those things. Great. I think this should more define Kenny Gainwell's job here than it has in past years. Because for some reason, Kenny Gainwell seemed to be force-fed into this offense to us all the time. First game, he's our starter. What? How many times has he been on the field and you're like, what are they doing? Why are they putting him in this situation? Inside the 10, it was Kenny Gainwell. Why? I didn't understand that. I don't know why DeAndre Swift wasn't in there. And in years past, Miles Sanders, although, whatever. I think now this makes it really clear. All right, Kenny Gainwell's your scat back. That's the guy that you put in, for a change of pace. and that's where he is. Saquon Barkley can be in there for all 3 downs pretty much anytime you want.
Here's the argument for Saquon Barkley also. Another one in his favor. Since he's entered the NFL, a top 3 pass blocking back.
Yeah, like 95% success rate when he's blocking.
He wins it. And a lot of that to me, they talk about Saquon Barkley being a good locker room guy, good energy guy for your franchise. To me, that tells me a lot about what he wants to do on a football field. He's a football player.
Yeah.
Because blocking, there are a lot of backs who are all into the game when they're getting the ball, but they don't want to sacrifice their bodies the same way and be there to help run and block and make sure their quarterback's protected. He is a skilled master at it. One of the best.
Think about it. Like, offensive linemen block on every play. It's man on man, boom, you're going. If a running back is staying in, you're picking up a linebacker full speed, hitting a gap. You got to find him, get him, and stop him. The guy's coming full speed. You're talking 230 to 50 pounds coming right at you, and Barkley's great at picking him up. I mean, he's got those. I don't know if you guys saw the picture on Twitter yesterday. It was talking about the tush push.
Okay.
And it said, all right, here's another guy that squats 600 pounds. Barkley's legs are like
they're gigantic.
Huge. And we were at an event with him years ago. It wasn't FanFest, but it was something else where we were. And we were up in a room with him. The size of the guy is just unbelievable. And, yeah, to see that power that they might have in that backfield on 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts, yeah, I think that might be a little hard to stop.
7 a.m. hour is brought to you by the all-new Bet Parks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And remember, this hour, you're going to have your opportunity to qualify. You're going to get those tickets to the game and get to play in our Fanatic Knockout Tournament coming up on Wednesday, March 27th, after the Sixers take on the Clippers. Eric joins us. Eric, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Good to hear from you, buddy.
Good. A couple quick points right here. I'll try to go through it quick with these deals. The one is Saquon. I think as a fan that's been missing a 3-down back since Sean McCoy, I think it's a smart move. I think the whole fan base has been clamoring for, not happy with the running back rotation and all this stuff, and I just think he could be the missing piece. So I'm fine with it. I know they had to go a little more, but I know they were battling with the Texans and stuff like that. And long term, I think it's just going to benefit the team. As far as the rest of the way, I do see CJ coming back. I think that's their main focus right now. And getting to the Queen thing, you guys were talking about Queen.
Yes.
My only holdback to the whole Patrick Queen thing is, if you remember the year before, the Ravens drafted Trenton Simpson, and it was going to be a competition because they weren't settled with Queen. Until they got Roquan, playing next to Roquan makes a guy look a lot better at linebacker. So investing that much money into him, there's still kind of a little bit risky to it. So I'm not sure I'd like to go that way. I'd be happier.
You're assuming, but you're assuming top dollar. The fact that he didn't jump off the board yesterday, Eric, tells me that you may be able to get him at a better price than people think.
Well, if that's the case, then I could see it. But I'm more on board with, I know he's older and everything like that, and it's not a piece for long term. But if you could get a guy who played unbelievable last year, like Bobby Wagner, for his leadership of losing a defensive guy like Fletcher Cox, someone to really mentor the N'Kobe Deans, and then you go out in the second round and you draft that Edrin Cooper from A&M, and, you got a guy that's going to mentor these guys. He's going to be still a great player, even though at his age, and you're not locked into a guy, but at least you could see and get the best out of Dean and everything playing next to a guy that's been in the league and done it all like that.
Good
so
in
I
on
think
you.
That might be a better move.
Good in on you on Edrin Cooper. That's a good one on you. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
thank you, buddy.
Look, I'll take a Bobby Wagner type on my team anytime. A guy that's just a leader that everybody looks up to, that, he plays his ass off, always seems to be around the ball. You have to get something. He's going to be 34 years old.
Yeah, I'm not in on that one. A type, though? What you said, though, Bob. A type.
Yeah.
But not 34.
No, and the Patrick Queen thing, what I love is every time there's a tackle, he's around there. He's just there. And he makes a good point. Maybe as the alpha dog, he's not going to be as effective, but I don't think you forget to learn how to be around the ball no matter who you're playing with. And Patrick Queen just seems to always be around the ball. I hope to God today we hear linebacker, safety, corner, something of those two positions today.
Juan, you're on the Fanatic. Good morning. Juan?
No, Juan got off. Juan
got off. He was like, I'm done with that.
One in a million.
Juan and done?
There you
A little
go.
bit. There's a good one
Not
there.
bad.
Too.
All right.
It may not be a good one. Pat, you're usually trying to be the judge on that.
It's horrible.
That was horrible. Pat
Yeah,
says,
it's real bad.
Pat says horrible. Not good on that one at all. So.
All right, so here's something that I brought up when you were on vacation. I want to see how you feel about this. With the first pick, with the 22nd pick in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jackson Powers Johnson, center, University of Oregon.
No.
Plug and play, Juergens. You learn another year there instead of making two switches on the offensive line, instead of 40% of the offensive line having to be moved, learned new, all of that, have to sign somebody, have to either, I don't know, promote Steen. You plug and play.
All I've ever done is read about him.
Love him.
All I've ever done is read.
All last week.
Okay. All I've ever done is read about him, so I'm not acting like I'm an expert on this. But I want a young, athletic corner. I want the best.
Oh, you can get that.
Where, though?
Anywhere. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
You're saying
corners deep this year, as we know. Now,
it is deep. It is supposed to be deeper.
If you're going to wait till 50, you're not, getting the. But I just thought it interesting.
I don't find that a.
Would they plug and play a rookie corner?
Potentially. Yeah. In fact, if you tell me that C.J. Gardner-Johnson's coming back and then Darius Slay's here, I think they would play a rookie corner. I don't think they'd have a problem with it.
Oh, they have a lot of corners that have experience that are younger on this roster already.
Keep talking about them, saying that they've got these guys.
Well, they've only been here 1 year, and you had two corners that were going to start every game for you in Bradbury and Slay. I mean, is Akili Ringo a guy that you're ready to do? I mean, you drafted him for a reason.
Well, I think they are absolutely in on Keely Ringo being part of the rotation.
Yeah.
Starter, though? I don't know. Bob, I can tell you this. At the moment, I might hate it. And in the long term, I'd love it. It's why yesterday, when I heard that Landon Dickerson got paid, I was thrilled with that. Because I love the stability along the lines of scrimmage. And Landon Dickerson has been a guy that has just been, talk about plug and play since he's gotten here. He's been a fantastic player.
Yeah.
And he's been very reliable considering that there was questions about that coming in. I love that stability. So if you told me they were doing that, I'd be fine. But Juergens is supposed to be the guy.
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
And that's what Jason Kelsey told
Landon
you
Dickerson
he
was supposed to be your center, too.
Well, I got you. Well, no, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yes, he had the option. He could play either.
Yeah.
He could play either. He could slide around. I got you.
Yeah, it's something I just threw out there last week, and I saw in one of the mock drafts, I saw, oh, wow, center's going around where the Eagles are picking. So then I started to look at highlights of him, and it was like, damn, like this guy beats people up.
Oh, he's a beast.
And he gets out there into the second set of linebackers and stuff like that. And I thought, wow, if you only had to plug and play one guy and you say to Cam Juergens, all right, you got 1 year under your belt, you're going to be better this year at right guard. That seems pretty neat to me.
I like what Pat's been preaching, though, for 2 drafts. Is the
right tackle.
Getting the right tackle that is, I think that's a bigger priority.
I agree.
Because to me,
Well,
I'm thinking he says, Pat, that this is the guy that was told handpicked by Jason Kelsey. So I want him to be that guy, and I'll go get somebody to replace Lane Johnson that has a year to mentor.
You need a right guard also.
You do.
I mean, Johnson's 27 contract-wise, so like whether he lasts that long or not, I don't know. But you have an immediate need, and that's right guard, not right tackle.
Yeah, so why would I take a center when Cam Juergens is
Why would you
center?
take a right tackle to be a backup for 3 years?
I'm not taking
I don't think he's going to be a backup for 3
years.
Either do I.
Well, he's under contract till 27, so.
We can walk away from that.
He would be the first guy ever
so
to
Juergens walk away. I mean, anybody can walk away. I don't know. I just, they have a hole there at right guard. I don't know. You know, if you're moving Juergens over to center, fine. Like you said, he was handpicked. All of that. What are you doing with the right guard spot?
To find a
you have a right tackle
to
right
find
now.
a veteran right guard, I would believe would be one of the easier things you could do on an offensive line. Now, I do not have the factual basis to back that up. But if you're telling me about shopping for a veteran out there or finding someone that you could plug in as a veteran into a line, I would think right guard would be the easiest spot you could find somebody. That would be one where you don't have to break the bank and you could find somebody competent. And you've got a tremendous offensive line coach that could say, hey, here's a bunch of guys. If you're looking in the $4 or $5 million range, here's a bunch of guys that we could pick. That'd be my guess. But again, I don't have the shopping list there. I think it's an intriguing point. And I would hate it at the moment, Bob. The pick was made, I'd probably go, oh, are you kidding me? And I'd be thinking about it long term, going, yeah, it's probably a smart move. Long term to think.
It's just stuff to throw out there. You know, that's what's great about the mock drafts and the draft coming up and free agency and all. But, yeah, they have to address that right guard spot. I don't know if Steen's the guy. I don't know if they think Steen's the guy. I don't know if there's – if you're Jeff Stoutland and you look and you say, man, the best offensive lineman out there is a center.
Oh, I love the thought process you have. Yeah, I'll look at you with the Hey, Mike from Delran's the guy. Michael, good morning.
Yo, what's up,
buddy?
How was your vacation?
It was fantastic. We will go back. We will go back to Punta Cana. I can promise you that.
Oh yeah, that's the only time I've ever left the country too. I stayed at the Hard Rock out there.
He wants to go see Dark Chocolate.
You know what? Yes, I mean I like it. I can't say I don't like. You know, I'm a huge Saquon fan, but like I didn't want to like it because like we don't run the ball. Like, we always get bargains there. I just didn't understand with so many other glaring holes on defense the money we were going to spend. And I'm usually not the kind of guy that cares about money, but man, this offense could be crazy.
Well,
Kellen Moore knows how to use this guy.
And Kellen Moore, well, the thing is, though, Mike, that's the question that you don't have to ask. Kellen Moore knows how to use his backs in the offense, not only in running the ball and in the passing game. So, I mean, you don't have to worry about him understanding how to use them. I think he's frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, and hey, worst case scenario, at least I pre-ordered Madden 25. Go Birds!
There you go. How long do they have to wait for that, Pat? The Madden 25.
It's been probably 10 years since I played Madden. So.
Oh, you're not like Chunas. You're not.
No, not with Madden.
Not with Madden.
No, kind of got out of that game.
You just.
I'll play NCAA though when that comes out.
Oh, wait a minute though. When would you introduce Jack to it? 7 or 8.
Yeah, probably like 4 more years.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's longer than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so 7 or 8's a little young for Madden.
To some people, yeah, I don't need the kid addicted to video games, so I'm trying to keep him away from that. The hard stuff.
Well, I'm not trying to make him into an ad.
Yeah, it seems like you are.
I don't want the young man to end
John
on
doesn't
that.
want him leaving the house.
I don't need that kid going on a dark path.
I could be terrible.
Like I did.
We got great news on the Phillies, at least in Major League Baseball's eyes, from the experts. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Active first day. I'm Pat Egan. This Sports Update is brought to you by the BetParks app. When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. New Year's
Off the Vikings. Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta, and Sam Darnold is going to sign a one-year contract with the Vikings for $10 million. Now, I don't know if they expect him to be the starter, but little strange there. Falcons got something there with Cousins. I mean, they should be able to with Bijan and Kyle Pitts and some others. They've got some nice pieces. So you'll have to deal with him. As long as they don't get many Monday Night Football games, they should be okay. Because Kirk Cousins can't. We already know his Monday Night Football is not, let's just say, is not his strong suit.
Yeah, I don't think the NFL's clamoring for Atlanta on Monday Night Football just yet.
That's not his fastball. So Sixers face the Knicks tonight in New York. You hear all the action right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And Tyrese Maxey's back. It's got Pat excited. See Maxey back in. Could they sweep the Knicks in New York back-to-back?
I kind of expect them to at this point. I mean, not expect them is the wrong word, but I feel like with Maxey back, this is, you have to. You were able to steal the one game, but you gotta take tonight because you lost those games when Maxey was out that you probably should have won. So you absolutely have to take tonight's game.
And it's just funny the hand that Nick Nurse has been dealt right now. Like, he took Buddy Hield out of the starting lineup. Kelly Oubre's in. He's out. You're messing around with your starting centers. Kyle Lowry's getting you 30-plus minutes a game, which is probably like you're dragging everything you possibly can out of him. Now Tyrese Maxey's back, so you have that proven score. It's just like man, you talk about just trying to knot things together to get through these times like you described before, John. That's what you have to do. And
just bide your time.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it like, can they get a sweep at least out of this New York series? Well, they've already done that, so good on them. I'm with Pat. Like, now that you have Maxey back, maybe you have New York reeling on their heels a little bit like, oh, man, we just played horribly against this Sixers team. Maybe unlocked a little bit of something by putting Hield on the bench. He shot better last game than he's had in a long time. Yeah, maybe there's a little something there. And you have to get games that are possible to get when you're going on this real tough West Coast trip.
And then the Flyers host the Sharks tonight. The really bad Sharks team with a chance. And they had a great night last night. And scoreboard watching out there, Penguins lost. The Devils lost. So they're out of the mix. They continue to lose out here. The Islanders lost, which was the critical one, and the Capitals lost. So that's a pretty good night. So you're worried about those teams. It seems like I took Pittsburgh off the grid at Pat's request there. So I just said, stop worrying about Pittsburgh.
I mean, I think you can stop worrying about New Jersey and Washington, too, but you keep updating them.
I can't
man.
I can't until it's physically... It's got to be a little. The distance has to be a little more for me to say.
They both sold at the deadline. They know they're dead.
But do you know that they're dead?
They're dead.
You're absolutely dead.
You can take them off.
Well, then if you say that.
They're on a golf course.
Okay, well, if you say that, then the Flyers are in the playoffs.
I told you that 3 weeks ago, John.
They can't even.
It's a given. They're in the playoffs. They're going to be playing in the playoffs. They're going to have those. What do they call them? The red, white, and blue things. Buntings. We're going to have buntings all over the Wells Fargo Center. Yeah, it's done. It's a done deal. They're going to be there.
Okay. Well, here was a little bit of the thought I had last night, and it's weird with the Sixers and the Knicks tonight. Is that there'd be a really, really wouldn't it be exciting if the Flyers made the playoffs and their playoff series got to be a Flyers-Rangers playoff series?
No, I don't want that. I don't want the Flyers getting killed in the first round.
So you think it'd be a killed?
Rangers are really good.
They are really good. They are.
Yeah.
Carolina's loaded up for Bear.
I'll take Carolina. They don't know. They don't know how to win. Yeah, they have a good record this year. Nah, that's not a winning organization. Screw them.
See, you're just,
Carolina. Carolina's no place to play hockey. Come on.
I'm looking at it as just the idea of you'd get the playoff experience. It would be hostile. And, Pat, a Flyers-Rangers series does a lot selfishly for us. I think people are even more excited for Flyers-Rangers than they would be for Flyers-Carolina. I'm being selfish.
Yeah.
I'm being selfish.
Yes.
It moves the needle more.
I think New York's pretty pretty good. So
Yes,
I don't know
I think
how,
it's
how
good
that series
analysis on your
goes.
part. Yeah.
I don't know how that series goes, but I find it hard to believe that a John Tortorella team isn't going to make any series, gritty and take a pound of flesh with them. So I don't think they win. I don't think they win any of the series, whoever they play. But I do think the team is leaving that round feeling it a lot. So, but yeah, I think that the fans will definitely get more amped for a Flyers-Rangers series than a Flyers-Carolina series.
Because you're looking at, I mean, I'm not to interrupt there, Bobby, is that it's Carolina. It's going to be Carolina, Boston, or the Rangers. That's who you're going to end up. You're going to play one of those three teams. And Boston's really reeling right now. Pat, are they banged up? Are they really banged up?
I haven't really been following them
Because
too much.
they've fallen off.
I mean, they tried to trade Swayman, their one goal, or maybe Olmark. They tried to trade one of their goalies and didn't work. And I haven't really been following them too closely.
I'd be surprised to see them lose in the first round again.
Here's the thing, and I brought this up last week, John, see if you agree with it. Pat brings up, Bob's not that guy. You know who is that team? The Flyers. What is it? They're the team nobody really wants to face.
Absolutely.
Like, they're the team like, really? We got to face a Tortorella team on a rebuild, has played a lot better this season than we thought. And that goalie isn't too bad. That's
first
it's kind
round
of
could
like
be a
the
struggle.
thorn in the side, like, crap, we got to play Philadelphia. I think they're that team that not a lot of other teams want to face, even though they might be the last team getting in, for the playoff spot.
The question is, who would you want to face in the Fanatic Knockout Tournament? 97.5, the Fanatics Knockout Tournament is back. If you don't know what it is, the Sixers take on the Clippers on Wednesday, March 27th. You and a guest will be there. And after the game, heading down to the court to battle your favorite Fanatic hosts and other contestants in a game of knockout. Again, Bob, just explaining knockout to those who are not familiar with it.
You shoot your foul shot. If you make it, you give the ball to the person behind you, and you get in the back of the line, and you're still alive. If you miss your foul shot and somebody makes a foul shot before you make your layup after you rebound, you're out. Knockout.
This is all presented by Ferguson HVAC, your Delaware Valley Train heating and air conditioning distributor. Visit train.com to find a dealer near you. Brendan Gunn is going to give you a little time to catch up if you're on our YouTube broadcast at 215-263-0975. 215-263-0975. So, assured, if you're listening on the app or if you're listening on YouTube, he's going to give you a little time to catch up. But you can start dialing now because you never know when those phones are going to be released. 215-263-0975 to win a pair of tickets to see the Sixers taking on the Clippers. And it would be a nice one to get tonight. If you get this one with the Knicks tonight, that'd be a very, very nice one. And they're banged up, too.
Yeah.
And so that's a...
Yeah, they're starting to get some people back. I think Anunoby's going to be back in a little bit, if not soon. But this Sixers team, man, it's just... God, I don't know if Nick Nurse loves it that, okay, I got to play the mad scientist and try to find some kind of a solution here, and I'm going to just move guys all around, or if it's like, oh, my God, can I just get some stability here?
I would imagine it's more along that.
I don't know. His mind works in a different way. I think he loves the mad scientist thing. I do. Like, look, right before Joel Embiid got hurt, I remember I came in here and I said to you guys talking to, in the press conference the night before, when everybody was healthy, he was throwing Kelly Oubre into the starting lineup and taking DeAnthony Melton and putting him on the second unit. And he was like wringing his hands with it. Now, it turned out that night that DeAnthony Melton was hurt with the back, which has been, might keep him out for the rest of the year. I don't know. But he had his mind, even when there was stability there, his mind was working. Oh, I got to maybe change things up here. Well, now he's got a totally different situation with a bunch of new players, minus your best player. Now your second best player coming back, taking the guy that you got in the trade deadline in Buddy Hield and throwing him on the bench. I think he's like a mixologist of coaching, and he loves to just shake things up and try different things.
For the first time ever, Mike from Delran just won the tickets for Knockout.
Are you
His
kidding
first
me?
time he's ever qualified.
Wow.
So congratulations to Mike. His first time ever qualifying, randomly getting in. So good luck with Mike with that one. By the way, you can register at 975thefanatic.com for another chance to be selected to play Knockout with us, and we'd love to have that. If you're a baseball fan, it is a tremendous read on ESPN.com, the Major League Baseball ranking of the top 100 players. And it's Jeff Passan, Buster Olney, Alden Gonzalez, Dave Schoenfeld, Jesse Rogers, Brad Doolittle, and others giving the ranking of the best 100 players in Major League Baseball. And it's good news for the Phillies. They're amongst the top. The Braves and the Astros each placing 8 players in the top 100. The Dodgers placing 7. The Phillies placing 6. If you did not read it, Bob, where does the first Philly show up and who is it?
I didn't read it. Obviously, I think it would be Bryce Harper.
And it is
13, 14?
13, Bryce
13?
Harper.
Is
You
it?
nailed that one.
Huh.
Right there. Pat, too high, too low? Bryce Harper, 13?
I would probably go with after last season, probably just right, coming back from the injury.
Here's who's ahead of him. Matt Olson at 12 from the Braves. That Adley Rutschman, the
catcher
for the Orioles. He's a fantastic player. Corbin Carroll, the outfielder for Arizona.
I'd have Bryce ahead of him.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I think I would too. Shohei Ohtani, Yordan Alvarez, Garrett Cole, who just went for an MRI yesterday,
Yeah.
Corey Seager, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Ronald Acuna Jr. I don't think there's many arguments other than I think we all agree that we'd put Corbin Carroll behind him. But other than that, he's right where he belongs. He's right in that mix.
Yeah.
I may even put him ahead of Matt Olson. I may. But last year is swinging things in Matt Olson's direction. So that is the first Philly to show up on the list. Pat, do you know who the second would be? Who's the second Philly who showed up? And any idea of the neighborhood of where you'd put him?
Zach Wheeler, 42nd.
Zach Wheeler does show up, but this player shows up at 20.
Trey Turner?
Trey Turner. And it says Trey Turner is one of those guys they think is going to have the huge bounce-back season, a combination of speed and power that's a rarity in the game. Remember, he was perfect 30 for 30 in stolen base attempts last year. I want that to be minimum 50 stolen base attempts this year because hopefully he's going to be on base.
That helps. It's hard to steal a base when you're sitting in the dugout.
Yeah, you can't steal first.
No, you can't.
But Trey Turner came in at 20. Pat, your Zach Wheeler pick was the third pick off the board, but 22. High respect. But 7 spots behind Spencer Strider. And I wanted your thoughts on that. Strider at 15, Zach Wheeler at 22.
Yeah, I'm all right. Whatever. Spencer Strider's really, really good.
He is.
His strikeout numbers are insane. I get it.
You understand it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You understand it. So it's there. So we've gotten 3 Phillies off the board in the first 22. So then you're going, okay, well, who would be the next Philly to show up? Any idea, Bob, of the 4th Philly to show up on the ESPN top 100 players list?
I'll go Real Muto.
It was Aaron Nola.
Oh, wow.
At 52. And Kevin Gossman is ahead of him at 51, who has had a nice rebound in his career. But Aaron Nola at 52, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good number on him, but I was a little surprised he ends up in the top, almost top 50 players. JT Realmuto, Bobby comes in at 60th. So he is the 60th player. Still huge respect out there for what JT Realmuto brings to the plate. So and behind the plate, I should say, probably even more respect there. So we get towards the end. Is there another Philly that you would expect to be on the list?
Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber is on the list at 90. He is the 90th player. So it says you can count on him for home runs and strikeouts, with some walks and the occasional single mixed in. It says a lot about the game that over the past 2 years, he's finished 16th and 19th in MVP voting, despite hitting .218 and .197, with a combined 415 strikeouts. but he has been a home run machine. So, very good. So as far as this, if I gave you 6, Pat, would there have been 6 in the top 100 on the Phillies 2011 team? And I think you and I have both sort of agreed on that one before. We think that was the best team of them all, right?
Gut says.
I mean,
yes.
if you were giving, so we go Rollins would have been top 100. We go Utley would have been top 100. Howard would have been top 100. Did we get 3 more?
Yeah, I would have went with Holiday Lee.
Holiday Lee.
Oh, and then you might have went with Oswalt.
You see, that's why I was wondering, is it going to be, before you get to the pitchers, would you get 4? Because you could. You could have gotten 4 out of that team. That might have been but the Phillies would have had potentially 4 starters in that, which would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
It was funny. I was reading a story, Kyle Schwarber, this weekend, and somebody asked him, they're like, can you imagine the kind of year you had last year? And he said, what are you talking about? And the interviewer said, you batted 197. You scored 108 runs. You had 104 RBIs. You struck out 215 times, and you had 126 walks. Schwarber's like, I know. That might be the craziest season ever. He goes, and do I know it? Yeah, I lived it. Think of those numbers.
Oh, it's crazy.
197, but he still scored 108 runs, had 126 walks, 104 RBIs.
Why did he score all those runs?
Well, he walked. And you had,
and
Harper
also,
and those guys behind you.
Okay, so he had guys knocking him in,
47 times he knocked
did it himself, right.
Yeah.
But
it's just a crazy number year.
I think the amount of times that he scored, the runs that he scored, explains that, so when you have really good guys knocking you in, which then puts the logic of he should be hitting behind the guys that get on base to make his home runs more productive. Again, that number screams to me it could be so much more productive. But he's an incredible, it's been an incredible acquisition of Kyle Schwarber.
Those numbers are just unbelievable to me. 215 strikeouts, 197. You would say, oh, man, there's not a lot of production there. And then you go 108 runs, 47 home runs, 104 RBI. It's just nuts. It's like every time he got a hit, he made it count, it seemed like.
He's the weirdest productive player I think I've ever seen.
That's a great way of putting it.
Is there any other that you can think of that you'd put even in the argument?
I remember Mark Reynolds had a similar year, and I got to look up his numbers. But I think when he was with Colorado, he hit 220, and it was I mean, Kyle Schwarber did this probably 15 years ago. He wouldn't be a major league player, I don't think, because on-base percentage wasn't really heavily thought of. But looking at it, Mark Reynolds hit 221 with 37 home runs with Baltimore.
Right.
And he led the league in strikeouts with 196. I mean, that was thought of as crazy. He also had a year of 44 home runs, hitting 260. But same thing, led the league in strikeouts. So it's just a different mindset nowadays than it was, 10, 15 years ago, where guys weren't they weren't valued as much as they are. But no, I mean, Mark Reynolds is the only one I can think of, and it was
That's
one
crazy.
year, and he hit 220, and Kyle Schwarber hitting under 200. It's bizarre. It's hard to wrap my head around it. It reminds you a little bit of the humming bee, or the honeybee, John, because when you look at the physics of the honeybee, it doesn't make sense of why they can fly. Their wings are too small, and yet they get up in the air and they fly.
But they do.
They do. Science can't explain it, but they're able to do it. You know what I mean, Bobby?
I wasn't thinking of the honeybee today, Bob.
Kyle Schwarber's a honeybee.
Okay.
He's sort of built like one.
That's
a little bit
that's very
similar.
good, Pat. You know, that's what I love about you, among so many other things, is when you think your mind is going 100% and you're thinking out things, you just throw things in a different
You
direction.
have another
and
level.
You say, wow, I'm not as smart sometimes as I hope to be.
My analogies are always pretty
Yeah,
solid.
they really are. That was spot on, too. Bob wants to get confrontational. Uh-oh. Put on your gloves. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
How he gets to work on Patty Egan. The Sports Update is brought to you by InvisibleFence.com.
Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All breaking news on free agency and the tampering period. You know you're going to get it right here on The Fanatic throughout the course of the day. So stay tuned. Be listening to Andrew in middays and the best show ever. And you might end up with some of the latest stories and storylines from the day. You know you just keep it on The Fanatic, carry around that app. And we'll have Sixers basketball tonight and the Flyers over on MMR, right, Pat?
Yes.
So they're
And you
over
got
on
the
MMR.
Union, CONCACAF against Pachuca tonight.
Pachuca
down in Mexico, yeah. So it's aggregate scoring 0-0 when they played.
Saturday was the
no,
Saturday?
it wasn't Saturday. They got canceled Saturday. It was like Tuesday, Wednesday. So they have to go down there and score a goal.
That's
what it is. Aggregate scoring. You got to score a goal.
It's good analysis on your part.
Well, it's the truth.
like
To
that.
move on, that's what has to happen. So
Score one goal.
we had Jim Curtin on last week when you were out, so he was playing it out. A lot of traveling, a lot of
And
games.
he showed up,
You know
which
that
is good.
Yeah,
That was
he called.
nice.
They're actually. It's a good thing they got rained out on Saturday night. They've been playing a lot of games in a little bit of time, so I think it was a good thing they got to be able to find their legs a little bit and get back out there tonight. So it's a great sports night. You got Flyers on at 7, Sixers on at 7:30, and then the Union is on. I think it's like FS1 tonight at 8 o'clock.
I got AAU national semifinal this afternoon.
Oh, you got some hockey in your schedule.
Tennessee versus FAU this afternoon. So my adopted nephew, Nick Pecora, his team, FAU, taking on Tennessee. And Rocco Anthony Bruno, Bobby, had another great game in net yesterday. Pat, you would love this kid. I want to see you go up against him.
No,
I know I do,
I
because
don't.
you would be great.
I would not be great.
He stopped 2 breakaways when the game was scoreless. 2 stone-cold breakaways from the blue line in when the game was scoreless. Stoned them both and made a lot of big saves down the stretch. So FAU winning yesterday. So it's Tennessee and FAU, and then High Point and Florida is the other national
I
semi.
wonder if Peyton Manning will be in attendance.
I don't think he's coming to that one, but I'm not
Never know.
sure.
He's a big fan of Westchester.
I don't know if they sing Rocky Top at the games, but we'll find out this afternoon. So good luck to those guys. But I was told yesterday it's Rocco Anthony Bruno too. How about that? I mean, can you sound more Rocco Anthony Bruno?
I don't think he could look more Rocco Anthony
The
Bruno.
hockey
What
version
you
of
put
Tommy
down on
DeVito.
he is. He's the
He's going to talk about chicken cutlets and
the 70s attire looking really good too. It was great yesterday, so a lot of fun. Bob, you're going to get a little confrontational with us, and we're ready for it. Pat, be ready.
Whoa, dude, don't speak for yourself there. I am not ready for that.
No, he's getting confrontational.
How am I getting confrontational?
Because I said you wanted to talk about confrontation, so I thought maybe there's
bring it, jackass.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I thought we were talking about something else, but yeah. So this LSU game, South Carolina game happens on Sunday with the women. Okay, and you see an elbow thrown and a girl pushes her to the ground and stuff, and it's almost like, oh my God, what's going on here? Everybody's suspended. You're only going to play with 5 players. You're going to do this. Do we have? Why are confrontations handled so differently in different sports? Like in hockey, you get down there, you drop the gloves, and you fist fight. And you know, this guy on the Rangers now has played 50 games or 10 games and has 54 minutes in penalty, and he's getting his ass kicked every time he goes out there. And you start worrying about, you know, brain injury and stuff like that. But if it's good for the team, that's all cool. That's great.
He got ejected last night.
Yeah, he got ejected last night. Literally in 10 games, he's got 54 minutes of ice time and 55 minutes in penalties.
And that's
okay.
his second. Is that his second ejection?
Yeah, against the same team.
What was there something going on there?
He ran over a guy the last game, and I thought it looked worse than it was, but he ran him over, and he got ejected for that one. Last night's was real bad. He should be suspended because he clearly chicken winged the guy and
to the head.
To the head. It was bad. But
is Pat? Does he have a long-term staying power with that kind of stuff?
he's not a horrible
No, he's not.
player.
He scored a game-winning goal against the Flyers.
I think what people forget about, you know, like the I don't know what to refer to him as, but the people that are going on and saying, like, hey, he shouldn't be fighting as much. He doesn't want to go back to riding a bus in Hartford. So he's going to do what he...
So he's got to do what he's got to do, which is fight, which is throw punches.
No, I don't even think...
Be physical.
Yeah, it's be physical, because I was watching a game where I was actually against Toronto, and it was a Saturday night game, and they're playing the Maple Leafs. It was in Toronto. Rangers were up by 1, and Ryan Reeves, who's their tough guy, wanted to go with them. And he's like, no, I'm not going with you right now. We're up by 1. I'm on the road. Like, he doesn't do it just for the sake of doing it. And then when he did finally fight, he looked over the bench to get confirmation. So he's not just throwing down at the drop of a hat. He is trying to pick his battles, but then he's also throwing dirty plays out there like last night.
Even when he went with Delorier, I mean, Delorier went over to him before the game.
Yeah.
And they talked,
and talked about it, and then they went. But okay. And guy MJG on here says hockey fights are for momentum. I hear you. I know. I've been watching hockey for a real long time. Don't forget, I grew up with the Broad Street Bullies. I've seen a lot of fights in hockey. Understand that.
You remember Gump Worsley.
Why can't a fight in basketball be the same way?
I don't
Why
understand.
can't that be a momentum builder? Why is it that when a girl threw an elbow at a girl's teammate the other day and hit her in the chest, and the other girl pushes her from behind, like, yo, don't do that? Why is that looked upon as like, oh my God, you're suspended immediately and you may miss even tournament time action because of it? Like, where are we in sports? Why are there different rules? I find it funny. You throw a punch in basketball, you're probably out 10 games minimum.
I do.
Like,
It's weird.
It's
I don't
crazy.
look at it's weird because I've thought of it. I'm sure people brought it up before, but when you say that,
like that thing on the LSU game the other night.
that was not that big
I
a
thought
deal.
Kim Mulkey came out as being the biggest
Jerk.
I was going to say idiot because I thought jerk might have been too strong. But, like, for her to say, oh, you're going to pick on somebody your own size. Your girl threw an elbow into the chest of the other team. I want every one of my teammates going over. Like,
Defending
I want
her,
them
right.
fighting each other to go push that girl. And like, let's look at it. Like you asked, you've been in tougher fights, John, in your sleep, I bet. Like, that wasn't a fight.
That was not a fight.
You know, so, all right, let's calm it down. We should just say, all right, look, everybody get back to your benches. If you leave your bench again, you're on alert. You're on alert. Let's do that. I'm wondering, like, can we do that in all sports? I totally understand. And then you see the Tortorella explosion where he's looking at the ref and F-bombing him, and I'm not leaving here, and who do you think you are? He put himself above the sport. I think rightfully so he's suspended. I think he just lost his crap. I really don't think it was a planned thing.
No.
And now the way he's handling it, I think is perfect because his players are like, yeah, he's got our back. He's got our back.
They love
and
it.
Tortorella's sitting back going, oh, okay, if you guys are going to. And I know he does have their back, but I think he's saying, wow, something good's coming out of this situation when I just, like, my mind went. It's just weird. Why the discrepancy in sports? Like, oh, no, it's okay for you guys to punch each other in the face for 3 straight minutes and come off the ice, you know, with blood everywhere and welts and all that stuff. And in other sports, if a girl throws an elbow and you push her down, oh, are you kidding me? Yeah, I don't know if you can play basketball ever again.
I've never understood. Like, I don't believe 2 guys throwing punches in the NBA would offend me in the least. It wouldn't offend me in the least.
I think it's more dangerous in the NBA. I think it's more dangerous in the NFL. I think it's
NFL. How you're wearing helmets?
If you take the helmets off, which we've seen before. I think DeAndre Johnson and I forget his name for the Titans, but they got into it. The difference in hockey is there's so much equipment, the upper body equipment, that it does affect your reach, and then they're on skates, so they're not firmly planted to the ground, which I think helps
lessen the blow.
Yeah, exactly. I memean, when you've got lacrosse fights, I think that's really, really dangerous. But same thing, they have helmets on, and they might have banned fighting in lacrosse. But
I think they have.
I got to look it up. I mean, I'm very ignorant to the rules of box lacrosse. But
so if Shaq punches T.J. McConnell, he may kill him.
Yeah, I mean, you're firmly planted on the ground, and it's not necessarily all right, we're gonna grab each other and jockey for position, which is what happens in hockey. Most of the time it's like guys are running at and squaring up, and then it looks more like a drunken bar fight, and that's pretty dangerous.
They never connect.
Whereas hockey, it's like, I mean, how many times have we seen a fight, and it happens most times, where guys grab each other, they get their little rabbit punches in, neither of them can really get off a clean shot because they know what they're doing, and then that's it, and it gets broken up. I mean, I don't remember the last time a guy got knocked out in hockey just from a punch.
Yeah,
And it has happened, by the way. It has happened many, many times. But I'm saying I don't remember the last time it's happened because there's so few and far between. Whereas I think in basketball, if you actually let these guys go at each other, you'd see severe injuries. Not Kermit Washington, but pretty bad ones.
You know, the funny thing is about it that hockey players know how to fight better than basketball players, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's weird. I mean, okay, the better fighters, I don't know. Like, here's another thing about like why the discrepancy. And then somebody on here, where is it? I just lost it. Oh, Trevor Rice. How come Tortorella gets suspended for 2 games for getting ejected, but baseball managers get thrown out all the time, and all it is on to the next game? It's a good point. And it goes to my point of discrepancies in different sports.
Well, wait a minute,
It's accepted. I can be Earl Weaver and go out to a guy right in his face and say, "You mother father, I swear to," and we've heard of it, and bump guys and all that stuff. And that was
usually
back in the day.
suspended for that.
You can't bump anymore.
But
you can go out there as a manager and curse an umpire up and down. You get ejected. You still get your words in, whatever. You're back the next day.
But if you don't leave the field when you've been ejected, if you won't leave the dugout,
that all the time.
No, if you won't leave the dugout, you're going to get a suspension in baseball. If you don't leave the dugout, you will get suspended.
I don't know. I've seen an awful lot. You throw bats. You do all the, you've seen guys throw things out of there. It's just, to me, it's just funny the discrepancies in behavior in sports. And it just hit me the other day about, that was a nothing in my book. That was a nothing thing in the LSU South Carolina game, the girls' game. But it never happened before like that. So now it's, oh, my God, suspend everybody. Everybody, you're all suspended. Where in, like, hockey, that's laughed at.
We don't see as many baseball manager ejections anymore. Remember the spectacles that we used to see?
Yeah, we used to.
God.
They'd be mic'd up, and they'd say,
it was
like,
craziness.
you got to throw me out, and then they'd put on a show. And
it's not.
Maybe the punishment though is the fact that if you're getting kicked out, it was probably a really bad team, and then you got to go manage that team again. So we're not gonna. It's like getting suspended from school. Oh, you don't want to be here? Well, guess what? Your punishment is you have to come here.
You have to come here.
But I mean, it doesn't mean that managers on good teams don't get kicked out too. But I feel like baseball is more orchestrated a lot of times with their ejections, and it's not taken as personal because it's just, as I said, you have managers going out there saying, "I got to get kicked out." What happened with Tortorella on the bench? It was so out of character for NHL coaches. Normally, if they'll go at refs. But they rarely are like, I'm not leaving. I mean,
they rarely are thrown out though.
Yeah, no, and they are, and but I don't remember the last time I saw Jordan Belfort. I'm not effing leaving.
Yes.
So it's a weird dynamic. I haven't thought about the differences though of the sports because we don't see ejections really in football. I mean, for altercations too much.
I mean,
that's the most physical sport.
Exactly, and you don't see fights all that often because. I don't know about you. I'm not swinging at a guy with a helmet on.
That doesn't make
like that. That's not all that fun.
That always cracks me up, and it doesn't happen often. But that always does crack me up when on the rare occasion you do see guys square up in the NFL, and they're both wearing helmets.
That's when body shots come into play.
I get, but it's like, all right, let's think about this logically. You're going to deal for a headshot with your fist. You're probably going to break your fist if you connect. But it is interesting because that is the most physical sport. And they don't really get into it too often. I mean, it's pushing and shoving, but that's about it.
Yeah, you can, here's the argument. Now, look, I just brought it up because it popped into my head the other day how, we saw Tortorella on Saturday night get chucked for, acting over the top. Then you see this minor little skirmish in a girls' game, and it goes over the top
19-minute delay.
Yeah, and then, you see major fights happen, and it's accepted there. So, look, if you're a fan of the hockey fights, which is fine, should it be allowed in other sports? Like that, if we had Fedoruk in here right now, like we did a couple months ago, and we said, why do they still allow fighting in hockey? So, because players know how to police themselves.
Yeah.
Should there be some form of that in other sports then, maybe?
I don't
Probably don't have to because of the non-physicality
Well,
of
I
it.
mean,
except
I don't
for
think
football.
so. I mean,
and
the
baseball fights are the worst thing you ever saw.
I
in your
love a
life.
baseball fight.
And they're no fights.
I love it. The last,
Oh, there was
what,
good, great one
yeah,
last year.
Tim Anderson. Tim
Yeah.
Anderson went out, and he's still a free agent, but
I think the amount of baseball
not-
fights that are memorable
Who was
Oh,
it?
are
a
Ramirez?
handful.
Who did he hit? Ramirez?
I don't remember. It might have been the third base. Yeah, it was Jose Ramirez. I feel like for
Okay.
the Indians.
All right, yeah.
For the Guardians. That was. They're very few and far between, but they're cool when it happens.
Because there's a lot of grab ass going on. That's like,
Well,
hold,
it's just-
hold me back, hold me back.
Yes,
and then
I mean,
guys
a lot
don't
of-
want to square off.
A lot of the time, it is that. I mean, it rarely gets to the point where a guy charges the mound anymore.
Yes.
The days of Ricky Bottalico and Barry Bonds throwing haymakers at each other. I mean, you can't top that. So guys try not to. I mean, it's.
I never understood a pitcher standing still on that.
I never did either.
Why
Like-
wait?
No, you know what I love? No.
I always said if I was a manager, I would, you're going through bunt drills and pickoffs to first and all that. Oh, by the way, pitchers, if you do hit somebody and they start coming after you, run towards them also.
Get off the mound.
Run towards them.
because you're in an unenviable position of someone coming at you where you're going to have unstable ground, left, right, center.
What I love is the charging of the mound, and the pitcher's only reaction is to chuck their glove at the guy, as if the guy's going to go, "Whoa, I didn't see that coming. I'll stop." And guys, it never stops them. They just keep coming.
Did you ever see the old Pat Ever? You're very young for this. The old
I'm an old soul.
Superman movies or TV show?
With Christopher Reeves?
No. Before him, even.
No.
They had these old like they'll show clips of Superman. The guys would have a gun. The gangster would have a gun, and he'd shoot at Superman, and the bullets would just bounce off Superman's chest, and it would go like pew pew pew, and then the guy would take the gun and then throw it at Superman.
Yeah, it's a last ditch resort.
As if that was going to stop him.
Yeah, it never. I'm never.
He'd chuck the gun
them.
at him. So
No.
it doesn't.
I mean, I haven't seen this in a while, but and I forget who it was, but it was with the Long Island Ducks. It was a former major league player, good player too, and he did the epic. He got hit or the ball was close to him. He didn't like it, and he kicked the catcher down and then charged.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Because a lot of times the catcher will catch the guy first, and that was a pro move. That's why probably that guy was a major league player. But when you're slumming it with the Long Island Ducks, it's like, screw it. I'll take my chances.
Hey, Mark joins us. Mark, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Great to have you on.
So I had a question. I wouldn't want to talk about the fighting, but has anything come out about Embiid? I think we're at the 5-week mark. I'm starting to get a little concerned because the time is ticking, and I haven't heard anything about Embiid. And my fight thing was the most memorable for me, besides Nolan Ryan's headlock, or I think
Which
I'm
is
sure it
amazing.
was, was Batista getting knocked out of second base. We always have this saying now when we're doing something like, want to play second base? Want to play second base? Because Batista got knocked out of second base. He was never the same player after.
Yeah, Rudy Odor knocked him out.
Unbelievable. Best punch I've seen in baseball ever. It was so great because he just made him look silly, and he was never the same player. But Embiid, guys, if you've heard anyone.
Thank you, buddy.
No, Mark, it's the weirdest thing. Like ESPN covers a game here, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and they say, yeah, we got word that Embiid is working out and that there's going to be an update next week.
It's 5 weeks today, by the way.
None of the locals have talked about his working out. No updates at all. We had Kate Scott on here the other day. She said, nope, still haven't heard anything. Don't know when they're going to announce it.
Today's 5 weeks.
Yeah, so.
And they had said 4 to 6.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, ESPN came on and said they were going to give us an update last week. That's what the Sixers told them. So, I don't know. I don't know why we're not getting anything.
I don't think in this situation no news is good news. I don't.
Maybe.
I have to go with that feeling because.
Wait, I'm sorry. Real quick. You said no news is good news?
I do not believe that no news is good
okay.
news.
Sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
I'm going with no news is good news only because I'm so preconditioned to get these updates, and it's news, but it's not news. So I'm going to go with, they're actually changing it up a little bit. This is out of character. Maybe it is going to be good news. Because normally these updates come in, and I know I'm looking at this as Billy Mumphrey, cockeyed optimist.
You are.
That's okay.
But I mean, I'm still standing with, like, if we did get an update, it would have been, all right, he continues to, rehab and he'll continue to revamp towards a return, and we'll update you in 2 weeks. I'd rather have no update in that instance and wait 2 weeks to give me an actual update.
In my history with dealing with that team with injuries, no news is not good news.
But that's what I'm saying, though. They've always given you news. And now
but they give you nothing, right?
Exactly. It's been nothing, but they'll give you, like, they've always stayed true to their timeline of, hey, we'll update you X, Y, and Z. And the updates are always.
I have a different memory of that.
Well, I go with, like, their updates are bad because their updates are cryptic, and then it leads towards, Markelle Fultz out for the season, Ben Simmons out for the season. So that's why I think it's bad news. But this is out of character for them to give a timeline of an update and us not get it.
Being as I was in a different place, I don't know how many times we went to PR people saying, do we have anything yet? Or anything yet? No, not yet. No, not yet. No, not yet. So that's kind of behind the scenes type of thing of when they say no word yet, all we're doing here, because we're not there every day, is waiting. All right, are they going to give us word? When you're there every day and asking, anything yet? No, sorry.
Yeah, it's
no.
not good.
Andrew Bynum, you said he's going to talk to us today. He's going. No, not today. Sorry, he's not going to make it. Joel Embiid, you said he is going to sit down with us today. No, Joe's not here. He left.
The hell do you know?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's better news than that.
So sometimes I hate having a former beat writer who just lived in the
Sometimes
facility.
or all the time.
Well, sometimes
I wasn't going to say it, but
all right.
You open the door, so yes, all the time.
All right, we're gonna get back on what the Eagles are potentially going to do next, because that's important. What are they going to do next? What is the next step? Because the steps they took yesterday, they wouldn't have been top of my priority list. I don't know about yours. We'll talk about that, and we'll hear from Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia and the best show ever yesterday on his thoughts about next steps. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Howie season. I'm Pat Egan. This Sports Update is brought to you by PJ Wellhand's Half
Fanatic.com.
We're watching Eagles free agency information and rumors trickle across. Guys who might be staying, guys who might be leaving. Maybe the Giants have finally learned their lesson. A couple of reports that they're attempting to, or having conversation with Boston Scott. So maybe they finally get the killer from the Eagles organization.
So they're big. I don't understand their offseason so far. And we're less than 24 hours in, but they're not a very good football team.
No.
They trade assets to get Brian Burns.
Yes.
Which he's great.
He's a hell of a player.
But what is that doing for you? And then their Saquon Barkley replacement is overpaying Devin Singletary, and then now you're going to sign Boston Scott. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy about their offseason, but if I was a Giants fan, I'd be very confused right now.
But the thing is, here's the problem is, and I agree with you 100%, Pat, by the way. But to me, I'm just as confused by the Eagles' plan. I really am.
I'm not, because I feel like with the Eagles' plan, the window's open. So making moves like Saquon Barkley to bolster the offense, I understand. Making the Huff move when you don't have a good defensive end rotation, I understand that.
But I don't understand signing a Huff who is less accomplished than Sweat and Reddick to a huge, huge contract. And he's never played half the snaps that these guys play. That concerns me. I didn't expect that the Landon Dickerson extension to come down right away, but I'm glad that it did. I'm glad Landon Dickerson's going to be here. And I think 4 for 84 with $50 million guaranteed is not a problem, especially for a guy that has been that reliable.
What? Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I didn't expect running back.
Yeah,
running back was the least of their, absolute least of their problems.
I did a
don't
topic.
have one.
Yeah, I did a topic when you were gone about how he thrived on grabbing running backs in the second wave of free agency of the draft, and he made a killing on it. I mean, he would find value. Like I equated it to the NFL as treated running back the way the Eagles treat linebacker. They devalue the position, and they just look to get rid of guys. And how he would take advantage of that. And he would get guys cheap, and then they'd be productive. But in this instance, and I, by the way, and I thought that was going to be this case here. I thought there was going to be probably 2 or 3 running backs out there, good running backs, that in the second wave of free agency, they were going to be sitting there, and he was going to take advantage of it and get them on a 1-year deal and plug them in, because this is still a really good spot with a good offense, and obviously the offensive line is still pretty good as well. I didn't expect it, but until I see the cap hit, I can't really judge it too much. Now, if the cap hit is big, I'm going to go, yeah, probably it was an overpay. But if it's another Howie wizardry cap hit's not too bad. I think there's a pretty good chance that Saquon Barkley's cap hit is going to be lower than DeAndre Swift's in Chicago. And if that's the case, then it was a no-brainer.
And Jeff McClain lays it out here. He says, and with the 13.6% increase in the salary cap this offseason, the Eagles are still investing a relatively low percentage of their funds in the running back position. You needed a running back. You didn't have one. You went out and got the best one available. I'm cool with it. It didn't break the bank, as McClain lays out in this whole story. It didn't break the bank. I'm cool. I'm all right. Yeah.
Okay. I just have different priorities. To me it's like going in your shop. You have a budget amount of money to spend, and you're trying to redo a room, or let's say you're trying to cook a meal, and you go and you say, oh, I'm going to buy that expensive cake. It's like, well, what's the entree? What are the sides? You're going and spending your money first on buying the expensive dessert.
Yeah, but you're going with the equation that it's going to prohibit them from doing. We don't know that it is.
But we certainly don't know that it isn't. They just, because there were many options. Look, with what DeAndre Swift, we all like DeAndre Swift, and we all would have been fine with him coming back or not.
Yeah,
because I don't want any revisionist history on this.
Cool.
I would have been fine having him back.
I thought he was overpaid in Chicago, but he's.
Yeah, but I don't believe that they would have had to pay him that contract. I think they'd have to get close to it, probably get close to it. But I don't think he was leaving. If they came close to Chicago, he was staying here. He wanted to be here. He was a guy who wanted to be here, but I guess the contract offers they made were lowball.
Yeah, I mean, like, where did you want them to allocate the money day one?
I wanted absolutely to be addressing safety, linebacker.
So they tried to address safety. They tried to sign Xavier McKinney, which tells you right there
They did. They went after
that they're still going to be active, and whoever they end up signing is going to be cheaper than Xavier McKinney because they struck out on Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, is he going to be?
And he was the highest paid guy.
Is he going to be in any way close to the talent of Xavier McKinney?
I mean, I can't tell you that, but
well, isn't that the important thing, though?
Well, no, but the value though might be better. You might be able to, and I'm using this as a hypothetical example, but because I don't know the numbers. But let's say Xavier McKinney was, a $20 million a year player, and he's really good. He's one of the best in the league. But now because you struck out on him, you get a guy that's, let's say, $12 million, and you're able to take that extra $8 million and invest it in a linebacker, and you get a competent linebacker and a pretty good safety. I'm okay with that over one player in Xavier McKinney.
Would you have wanted Xavier McKinney or Saquon Barkley?
Probably Barkley. I would.
See,
I need to see the cap. What's the cap hit?
That's the numbers. You got to break the contract down.
McKinney did 4 years at $68 million.
I like, until I see cap hits, I can't really.
I think that transforms your secondary.
I don't disagree with you.
And
but
to me, that's a bigger issue.
But it tells me, though, but they tried. Like, he signed elsewhere. So I can't get. If they weren't involved in him, I'd understand the gripe. But they were. He signed elsewhere. So you figure, well, they're not just going to go, okay, I'm going to take my ball and go home. They're going to pivot to somebody else. And if that somebody else comes at a fraction of the cost and you're able to take the savings and allocate it to another area of need, whether it be another defensive end or whether it be a linebacker, then I can't really complain about it. And I don't like your cake analogy because I'm somebody who likes cake. Yeah,
would you rather have Xavier McKinney or C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Saquon Barkley?
C.J., G.J., and Saquon.
That might be what it comes down to.
It could come down to that. Absolutely could.
Yeah, and as far as the cake, if the baker says to me, the bakery says, yeah, you don't have to pay us for another couple years. Don't worry about it. The cake's okay. You owe us a lot of money for the cake, but you don't have to pay us for a couple of years. So go ahead and get your Kobe beef and all that stuff for your dinner because you're good to go. You still have money in your pocket. That's how I look at Howie. Trying to figure out money with Howie, nah, you can't do it. You can't do it. We could have talked salary cap all day yesterday and not once thrown in there that Landon Dickerson was going to become the highest paid guard in the league and then still be able to afford a Saquon Barkley and still have money to go out and get one of these guys or a couple of these guys that they're going to get over the next couple of days.
Well, we talked about it during the offseason. We talked about when the Reddick story was breaking. I wanted Devontae Smith and I wanted Landon Dickerson signed too, as far as getting those contract extensions in. And I think they will be able to get those guys and be able to get those done. They had to move faster on Dickerson because they don't have the option of the fifth year guarantee that they've got with Devontae Smith. So they needed to make that a priority. I just didn't see, look, two things can be true. The Eagles are better. Saquon Barkley is better than DeAndre Swift. No questions asked. But to me, the priority is I wouldn't have seen running back as a priority to be addressing first.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't think that prohibited them from trying to get Xavier McKinney.
Okay, and what did they do, though, too? They went and signed Zach Bond.
I love Zach Bond.
No, you don't.
No, as soon as I saw that, I went, there we go. That's the linebacker move. Yeah, it's the
same old
one-year deal. He played special teams. He played a handful of snaps actually playing linebacker.
I mean, to me, that screams to me, instead of making the swing for actually improving a position that this entire city has complained over and over again is not being addressed. Zach Bond is a marginal, just NFL talent. And they're doing it again.
Well,
I don't know that they're plugging him in as a starting linebacker.
Yeah, he just might be special
there's no money attached to Zach Bond yet. They could have brought him in here because, I don't know, the injury to Sean Bradley is bad, so you need another backup linebacker to play special teams mostly. Well, I mean, Zach Bond's resume tells you he's not a starter.
Well, tell me who. No, it absolutely doesn't.
No, unfortunately, though, John, I feel like you are right because when you see Zach Bond and you see special teamer, not really a starter, my first thought is, the Eagles are going to try to make him a starter. It's not it's not the Sean Bradley replacement, my first thought is, oh, they're going to tell us that they found their linebacker, because that's what they've done the past, 40 years, is scrape the bottom of the barrel and sign a cheap guy and go, well, look, see, we addressed it. You didn't really address it, but that's like, should we get mad at that when that's been their MO for 40 years?
Well, no, I can tell you this. If this season goes down in flames like the last one did, because you have an incompetent secondary and you have an incompetent linebacking core, I absolutely will be pissed about it.
Yeah,
I absolutely will. Especially when they're going, yeah, but we went and got this nice toy at running back.
When I say should we be mad at it? Yes. All right.
We will.
Dumb point on my part. My point though is we should expect this, and it's unfortunate.
I hate that.
And I personally would have rather had them, if they're going to switch organizational philosophy to prioritizing a day one free agency position, I personally would have rather had linebacker over running back. You look at two positions that they really haven't, I don't want to say they haven't prioritized, but they've waited till the second wave of free agency or trade, whatever, to address. Yeah, I would have rather had them do linebacker, because it tells me that they actually have changed. But we got to remember, we're less than, we're 24 hours in. Like, Patrick Queen's still out there.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Until I see the well dry up, I can't really get too mad at what they're doing.
That's where I started the show with today.
I wasn't listening.
I know you weren't. You turned in around 6:30. The idea of, I'm okay, I don't want to make a judgment on the whole thing until I see the meal completely done. I don't want to go in and watch the chef create it. But what I would say is, it would not have been my plan. It would not be my plan to go, I looked at the 2023 Eagles. We can fix some things. The number one priority, it's just not. And whether I like Saquon,
I can't say it's the number one priority. If they go out and get a linebacker and pay more than Saquon Barkley, that was your number one priority. Just because you did it first didn't mean it was your number one priority.
Yeah, it
they
just
could
means
be
the guy
working things
signed.
out. Yeah, they could be in real negotiations with Patrick Queen or with a safety, with somebody else, and they could get more money than Saquon Barkley gets. Well, that becomes your number one priority.
No, because at their it's their price point. You're not going to pay the running back what you pay the star linebacker. You're not going to pay a running back in the NFL. You don't. You just don't. So, it doesn't matter that what they cost. You paid them top of market for a guy,
you
jumped to get it.
Well, you said earlier that you would have paid DeAndre Swift something close to Saquon Barkley.
Close to what Chicago got.
Well, that's $8 million a year, and Barkley's like 12.
That's a big difference.
Okay, well, somewhere
that's a starting linebacker.
But that's what you have to play. That's what you had to pay. You didn't have a running back. You had to pay.
I got you, but you're doing with linebackers. You're paying guys $1 million and $1.5 million to come in here and start at linebacker. If you're willing to spend $4 or $5, you can get a competent linebacker in there. You can get a guy who potentially is a 3-down linebacker.
They might pay $8 to Patrick Queen.
They might, and if they do, they're going to pay a lot more than that, I would think.
Like the story, the narrative that they paid Barkley, so now it's going to prohibit that. I didn't see anybody write that, from Jeff McClain, from Zach Berman, anybody, because do they have more numbers than we have as far as money goes? Yeah. But none of them wrote that. This Barkley signing is going to prohibit them. McClain even went out of his way to say, no, this is fine, and they still have plenty of money.
What did Barrett Brooks have to say when he joined the best show ever yesterday from NBC Sports Philadelphia about what the Eagles need to do as next steps, what they need to do as next steps on defense? And that's one of the priorities, is trying to figure out what are the next steps. Where do you go? Because I can tell you, if there isn't a significant upgrade, I'm not good enough on just saying, we've got guys in-house. It's all going to get better. We got guys in-house that are ready to go. You've got to do some shopping. And with the Eagles' defense right now, Barrett was able to join the best show ever yesterday and talking about what would be the, I guess, sort of next step and priorities going on. It was really interesting. I'm having trouble. It's freezing up on me a little bit here, the button I'm trying to push, but we'll get it and be able to get a chance to hear that. Here it is. Here's Barrett.
I see these guys are saying, all right, we do have players that can play. You got Ringo. You've got Ricks. These guys are going to step in and play. Brown, as fast as he can get back, I believe he'll be a starter. But we've got to invest money at the linebacker position and at the safety position in order for us to have at least a functional defense. Right now, we don't have a functional defense. We don't know what we're going to get from Nakobe Dean because he couldn't play last year. And who else is there? Ben Sumarin? He's the only guy, really, him and Nakobe Dean, as far as linebackers in our locker room right now.
I think the man speaks knowledge. And just is I can't count on, as much as I want Nakobe Dean to be a huge rising success. I don't know. And I certainly wouldn't count on it. I'm not going to count on it.
Well, there's no evidence to lend you to that, right?
So I can't count on it. So they've got nothing. And to me, that would be screaming, going, we are not going to get caught without at least one or two competent guys that we can count on that aren't named Nakobe Dean. That because we can't count on that. We hope it's going to happen. We got to get one or two. Yeah, Zach Bowen's not that guy.
No.
Not that guy.
Howie was asked about the defensive line a couple of weeks ago, and he went right to the linebackers. He didn't answer the question about defensive line. He went right to the linebackers that, they're going to have to shore up there and get better there.
And he says, we've gotten linebackers in the past.
Well,
we've done this. And they get bargain guys. They get guys that aren't impact
they never paid
players.
like this for a running back before, so maybe it's something different. Maybe there's a new philosophy in town. I don't know. It's like you got your new house, and, you had priorities to get something. Well, if Christina went out and got new furniture, did you yell at her to say, what are you doing? We didn't do the backyard yet. No, you can only do one thing at a time. So yesterday, the one thing at a time was, all right, they got their starting running back. Now maybe today it's the linebacker and safety. I don't think they're set on linebacker or safety with this organization. I don't.
Okay.
I love Sidney Brown, and I hate that he got injured last year.
Terrible.
But you still need a running mate over there next to him or to Reed Blankenship.
I don't think you need Reed Blankenship as a starter.
I mean,
if he's a rotational guy,
no.
if he's a rotational guy, I'm all in on Reed Blankenship. But I don't. I just think there's differences in priorities, and we don't know what is addressed, who's grabbed. Terrell joins us. Terrell, good morning. How are you?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, buddy.
I just calling because I hear what you're saying, John. I kind of agree with you. You changed my mind a little bit about the stance of it. Like, we got to wait to see the whole meal before we can actually make an assumption of, was it a good day or was it a bad day? Because at the end of the day, we still got, like you said, Reed Blankenship and like the linebackers. Like, we got to be able to tackle. And, like, right now we just got a cute team with
and if I don't see that defensive depth chart, Terrell, looking much better by draft night, if I don't see it look significantly better, I don't want to know that, there's going to be, we're going to plug in 3 rookies, and they're going to make the impact. Bullcrap. You're not. You're not.
We got to be able to play defense. We still got Bradbury on our team. We still don't have safety. We still have a linebacker. But, we got an offense, but we got to hope to get the ball last. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I just think of it differently. But, again, I do believe Howie's going to have a plan. But what I've seen before is his plan has been disregard linebacker. Will it change? Yeah. As Bob points out, his plan was never to spend big on running backs. And it happened.
Yeah,
and now
it's not done yet. I mean, you have everybody from Derek Gunn to a lot of people saying, they're not done yet. If you would have told me they went out and got the best running back available and picked up a rotational edge rusher who had a good season last year, and you're teaming them with 2 guys who have 10-sack potential. Now you have 3 of them on the edge. I'd call it a decent day for the Eagles. Is there still more to do? Hell yeah. That defense sucked. That was the worst defense. They were the worst football team at the end of the season last year, and the defense had a lot to do with it. If you think you plugged holes by getting a rotational edge rusher and
you paid like a huge starter.
Yeah, and a linebacker that is probably more of a special teamer than a starter, well, then you're egregiously incompetent.
Bryce Huff, I had to go and watch. I didn't know. I mean, I heard his name. I researched him. I watched it. I saw that he did a lot in what would be considered sort of garbage time type stats in some of it. But to me, they see something. They want him to escalate. I'm concerned about the fact that his workload has not even been in the neighborhood, not even half of what you expect out of a Hassan Reddick. So if people are saying, well, he's a younger Hassan Reddick, It's not. That is not logical.
Well,
because Reddick plays 800 snaps a year.
This might be the worst analogy in the world, but
Is it the cake analogy? Because that was a bad one earlier.
No, it was because who doesn't like dessert?
You want the cake.
Yeah, I want dessert first. If the Phillies signed a guy that had 250 at bats and had 20 home runs, you're probably thinking, all right, he's going to get minimum 30 with a full season of 500 at bats minimum, because he had 20 and 250. So Bryce Huff is coming off of a career year last year where he had 10 sacks.
Correct.
But, I think you go, well, logically, if he had 10 sacks last year at half the snaps, if you up his snap count, minimum, what do you expect? 12, 13? Well, I mean, I'd be happy with 10. I'd be happy with it.
But I don't know, Pat, a guy who played half the snaps of players who was never, and that was a career high in snaps.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge
I don't
jump.
know, and that's half of what you expect of a Sweat, half of what of a Reddick gives you. So to me, I'm going, I can't. Maybe there's a reason that a very bright defensive coach as a head coach, Robert Saleh, didn't think he was capable of playing 100, 200, or 300 more snaps.
Maybe they just had and I don't know. I wasn't really dialed into the horrible Jets, but maybe they just had a really deep defensive end, rotation group. I don't know.
Maybe the best you get out of him is that.
Look, at the end of the day,
that's not going to be enough if you let Josh Sweat or Hassan Reddick go. But it's not going to be enough to let that go.
Maybe they're looking at it like you team Bryce Huff and then you team Nolan Smith up. And
we know nothing about Nolan.
We don't, but you give one, I don't know, 400, and the other guy 400, and it
then
makes
we're
800.
And you're missing. But then you were getting 800 out of Sweat. You were getting 800 out of Reddick.
So Reddick still gets his 800. Huff gets 400, and Nolan Smith gets 400, and then you bring in one other guy, and you have a little bit of
Brandon Graham gets a
Brandon Graham gets a
token snaps
couple.
what 250, 300,
but you bring in another guy to kind of supplement that room, maybe in the draft or something, and now you at least have a rotation. I mean, ultimately, all I care about is production. So I hear the snap count thing, but if he's getting 10 sacks, I mean, if you're not going to poo-poo 10 sacks from anybody.
Or
snacks. I mean, if you bring me 10 snacks, you're going to be a friend.
Yeah.
But if Josh Sweat last year had 10 sacks, I don't know what he had. It was probably 7 or 8. But if he had 10 sacks, you'd be like, damn, I don't want to let that guy leave.
Yeah, you want to share a thought on this, you can. It's 610-632-0975. Next steps, where does this team roll? And there is lots coming. What one Pat does say, the Saquon Barkley signing is not a repeat of a very, very, very sad moment in team history. We'll talk about it coming up and more. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The Saquon Barkley signing was very fair to say, Bob, out of character. The aggressive, the paying big bucks for a running back, a 6-year running back. That's out of character for this organization.
Yeah.
Howie doesn't do that. Now, there was a time when another head coach did it, and it maybe makes people, Pat, feel like they're stuck in like a horror movie.
I couldn't help but think back to the last time the Eagles made a giant running back splash that was taken from a division rival, and that was DeMarco Murray, and it didn't work out. It didn't. It was a disaster.
And he was much younger.
But he had a lot of wear and tear.
They wore him out.
They wore him into the ground. And I remember not really liking the move because historically, when you look at a running back that had that many carries, they never regained that form. So Dallas did a really good job of running him into the ground and then just ditching him off to us. And Chip got enamored with him and brought out the smoothies and whatnot. And most of the fan base was over the moon about the fact that they stole DeMarco Murray from a division rival. But this is different, and I think the big reason why is DeMarco Murray was such a downhill running back, and Saquon Barkley is truly a do-it-all back. But I also don't think that you have an offense now that is going to square peg round hole it the way that Chip Kelly did, where Chip Kelly refused to put DeMarco Murray in a position to thrive, and it was like, just deal with handing the ball off and grabbing it and going, out of the read option. It didn't really make sense. Like, DeMarco Murray's strength was running downhill, but he never did that with the Birds. And I think this is completely different. I think Saquon Barkley gets the ball in the backfield much better than DeMarco Murray could. I think there's less wear and tear on the tires, though I have to look up the snap counts and whatnot, and I'm probably not going to do that if I'm being honest with myself. So I'll just guesstimate and say there's probably less carries and whatnot. I think that Kellen Moore is going to be better suited to deal with Saquon Barkley than Chip Kelly was to deal with DeMarco Murray. So I saw it a little bit on social media yesterday, and I had the same thought. Could this possibly be DeMarco Murray 2.0? I don't think it is. And I'm not here to tell you that Saquon Barkley is going to lead the league in rushing next season, but I don't think this is even close to going to be DeMarco Murray 2.0.
I don't,
because I think you had a leader in Chip Kelly that was my way, the highway. You're going to do it this way. I'm not adjusting to you. You got to adjust to me, and that just doesn't work. But I get the sense that this coaching staff, at least with Kellen Moore, I think they're going to put these guys in a position to thrive, and Saquon Barkley is one of those guys.
Yeah, you don't really get those type of backs anymore. You don't have guys that are carrying the ball or touching the ball more than 350 a year, like Murray was when he came here, right? So I remember them getting him, and I thought it was kind of a lukewarm reaction, Pat. Did you remember that, or did
I know
from the fan base?
I remember a lot of the fan base was pumped.
I think a lot of people were really excited.
I got kind of ripped.
I know
for being
I was. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. With the wear and tear was a talking point. This is different. Yeah, I don't. The only comparison you have of the two is that they both played in division to me. That's it.
And I don't believe that there's going to be a problem with them finding very, very creative ways. Kellen Moore knows how to use his running backs, and he uses them in the passing game. So I don't think we have to worry about that, but I would understand people having the, I'm not sure.
Yeah, a little PTSD from just stealing a high-priced, high-profile running back from a division rival. I think it's only natural to go, when was the last time that happened? Oh, God, that's gross. But I think this is a completely different scenario, obviously different coaching staff, but a much more understanding coaching staff, whereas Chip Kelly was truly like a dictator. And I don't get the sense that Nick Sirianni is even close to being that. Everything we hear about him is he's a player's coach. But then also I think Kellen Moore is a pretty good offensive coordinator, and they'll be able to implement Saquon Barkley into a style that he's able to thrive in. So I saw it a little bit on social media, and it was a thought that I had myself of, could it possibly be? Because I think it's natural for us as Philly sports fans to just go, all right, how does this end poorly?
Sure.
Yes, exactly.
Every group of fans that was together yesterday brought his name up.
Really?
at some point. DeMarco
Oh,
Murray?
I'm sure. Yeah.
No, I shouldn't say every, but,
No, but,
if you have a
I'm-
group of people talking about Barkley, somebody's going to bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're right in bringing
I
it
didn't
up
realize
because
how-
I think it was in a lot of people's minds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Good job by you.
it's. I think it is too. I think the idea of that he is the last 2 years for Saquon Barkley, you got around 550 carries. That is a lot. That's a lot of rushing attempts. Not to mention his targets in the passing game, his receptions around 100 in the last couple years. So he has been a workhorse, to say the least.
He's a
This is
three-down
guy-
back, yeah.
This is a guy who you are really going to be able to lean on. Now, the production is going to be different. 6 touchdowns, I'm going to need a lot more than that. But that's up to Kellen Moore and the offense, too, on deciding, giving him those opportunities. I'd like to see a hell of a lot less Jalen Hurts touchdowns and more Saquon Barkley touchdowns, just in play design.
Yeah.
The less hits, any less hits my quarterback can take, I'm in on it.
Well, we brought it up last year about when the Eagles get inside the 20, how many times do they throw the ball into the end zone? It's
Rarely.
Very rare.
Rarely.
Very rare.
That's not going to be with Kellen Moore, though.
And then when you get inside the 10-yard line, who do they look to rush? It was Jalen Hurts mostly. And, maybe once in a while a handoff here or there. But that's where I'm looking for the difference to be. Do you go for the end zone inside the 20? Do you have plays? We had a caller earlier saying that Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown get no separation. I don't know how you become 2 of the best wide receivers in the league without getting separation. I think they do get separation, and that's something that Kellen Moore's going to have to draw up inside the 20, that you're throwing to the end zone.
I don't think he's going to have any problem doing that. And one guy
unless there's one common denominator, and that's it. They don't trust Jalen Hurts making reads with just 20 yards to go.
Well, maybe he wouldn't. His history would indicate, though, that that's what he wants to do, and that Dallas Goedert is the guy who truly could benefit big time from having Kellen Moore here. He could become much bigger weapon. I never understood why Dallas Goedert's not more of a weapon in the red zone. I can't figure it out. I mean, Ertz was sometimes targeted too much.
Yeah.
In the red zone. So look, there's a lot of things going on. I think that's important, though, Pat, making that point. This is nothing like DeMarco Murray.
No.
This is nothing like it. There's no real common denominator to it.
No, I mean, Saquon wasn't driven to the ground the way that DeMarco was last year. Yeah, obviously he was a huge focal point of the Giants' offense, but the Dallas Cowboys really abused DeMarco Murray in his final year of his contract. Rightfully so. It's their prerogative. I don't blame him for doing so. But this isn't that. So if you're one of those people that has that thought, that impure thought, I get it, but it's a completely different situation. You're allowed to get excited about this.
9 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's, and if you need details, go to Bagster.com. So, Bob, you see the signing of Barkley, though, is that maybe Howie looked at this as this Eagles offense, then Kellen Moore's offense just becomes a completely different animal than what we've been used to seeing.
Well, I think it's an aggressive move, and it's a good move, and it's easy to make a move on an offense that's already really good. It is. They could draft a right guard. They could draft a center. They could do that, and it's not going to get much pushback because their offense is so good. And right now their offense is good. And you went and added the best running back possible. That's like a no-brainer. Great. Way to go, Howie. Way to be aggressive. Good job. But now you have to address what's bad. And what's bad is linebackers and secondary. Like, okay, good aggressiveness on the first day, Howie. You got to go get that. Like, I understand that you want to maybe build an offense that'll outscore other teams, and therefore your second priority might be the defense. Okay, but I need to see that the defense is still a big priority in certain places, and that is the secondary and linebacker. If they don't address them, yeah, I'm going to be disappointed in this offseason.
And that's the one thing about it is, do you look at last year and say the important thing is to make the offense better? Or do you say this defense has 5-6 holes on it? I mean, honestly, 5 or 6 spots you could say are a problem. I could say both safeties and one corner, two linebackers. I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess, and it's just the idea of what's the better way for them to get better faster. To me, Howie Roseman, I think, was sort of saying, if the offense gets even more prolific, it's almost like we can just outscore people.
It could be. Maybe that is their philosophy. And look, you're not going to have great players at every position. You just can't do it. So what do? You try to overcompensate in some places to make sure that it hides your deficiency in others. Does that mean he's going to go with this addition of Huff, edge rusher, edge rusher, edge rusher? Because as I said yesterday that I saw somebody say, good edge rushers can shut down all of your wide receivers because they're sacking the quarterback.
Make them all ineffective.
We talk about secondary. All right, you got a really good corner. You get a really good safety. They're only shutting down like one receiver. A good edge rush shuts down all of them. 70 sacks negated on all of those plays. Every wide receiver the other team had out there. It negated them. They didn't come into play. So I understand that. Is that the philosophy he's going to go with? I don't know. I need to see a name in that secondary, and I need to see a name in the linebacker. Hopefully that's what they do.
Now, the idea of wait and trust Howie is one, but to me, it's the idea of I can trust Howie on certain things. One thing I can't trust him on is drafting in the secondary and fixing the linebacker problem. You can't just give you got to trust Howie. Because honestly, I know that the back and forth, and I know Andrew Salchunas has talked about this on middays, that the fan base has gone back and forth of fire Howie, keep Howie, fire Howie, Howie's great,
sure.
Fire Howie. I can't just blindly, people are saying, just trust Howie, trust him. I can't trust, there's a lot of things I can't trust him on. And one of them is attacking one of the major issues that this team has got. And that's sort of where I'm at today. I want to know where people are. If you want to get in with us, you can at 610-632-0975. Your reaction, at least to the start of this free agency period.
Well, we have to look at ourselves on that, too. Okay, who was available in the third round to take as a linebacker? Nakobe Dean. I can't say there was any of us here that wouldn't have said, "Oh my God, that's
I did.
Great pick, all of us." Because a lot of us in the mock draft, a lot of people had him going first, if not second. Nobody had him still being there in the third, so that you thought it was a no-brainer. Well, there's not no-brainers very often when it comes to drafting in any sport. You know, a Connor McDavid, a Bedard, maybe. You go to football and you look at your number ones through the years in basketball also. Okay, yeah, there's a handful, but not in second, third, fourth rounds. So it's just the crapshoot that it is. He thought, and we all thought too, all right, Nakobe Dean, third round, perfect. You went after a linebacker and you got him. I don't know if he's that or not. Now, maybe he is. Maybe it's just the injuries have held him back. I don't know.
Looking at the NFL landscape, just one thing. Are you shocked Justin Fields hasn't been traded?
Shocked.
I don't think they're trading him, though. I think he's going to be their quarterback.
He's gonna be the starter, and you're just gonna groom the number one overall pick. I don't mind.
I think they might trade the number one pick.
Oh,
they might keep Justin Fields and get a king's ransom for somebody who wants to jump up and draft a quarterback. Maybe slide down. Maybe even if you go, you play cards with the team at 2, or you trade with, or Arizona jumps up at 3, but they don't want a quarterback. So they've already got Kyler Murray. But, you know, they can do a lot of things. I would imagine there would be a lot of interest in the number one pick in the draft.
Yeah.
A lot of teams
Usually
that would make a jump at it.
Uh-huh.
So the fact that they haven't traded Justin Fields makes me wonder, could they be keeping him, and could this draft end up with a trade? Someone making a wild move up the board.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Hadn't really thought of Chicago all that much, but Fields' name when you see it out there, and with the thought that they're going to take a QB at 1, what do you do with Fields? Trade would be the number one thing you think of, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because the fact that he didn't go, because I was like, okay, his hometown in Atlanta, could that be it? No, he's not going to. He's not going there. He's not going to these other teams. He didn't go to Vegas. He didn't go to, like, there were all these teams looking for quarterback. They're going to go with Gardner Minshew in Vegas as their starting quarterback and draft one. They'll draft one and go with Minshew as, like, the bridge. I'm shocked by that. That just is a little surprising to me. That would be the kind of, that the landscape of quarterbacks is not that big. I want a backup quarterback, by the way. When you're talking about shopping, I want them shopping for a backup quarterback. I do not want another year of Marcus Mariota being the option if you come to that. I don't know who's available as far as what would be potentially shaken from a tree or otherwise. And I would imagine, like always, they'll usually probably throw a quarterback in the draft that they'll look at. But I think it's a position that's worthy of being addressed with Jalen Hurts last year. Now, we've had no surgery this offseason, nothing like that. But we have another year of Jalen Hurts last year where everybody goes, well, Jalen's hurt. He's got an injury. We just don't know what it is. But he's not playing like he was. He doesn't have that burst. He doesn't have that. I don't want another year of that where you're wondering, is he injured? Is he going to have to take some time off? Are you going to be? Because your season's screwed.
Yeah.
And not many teams thrive with their quarterback out, by the way.
No. So you talked about priorities earlier. Was running back your top priority? Quarterback, backup quarterback, as far as priorities go? It's down a little. I hear what you're saying, but it's down a little bit.
Well,
on
if
the
you've
list
got a team with Super Bowl aspirations, you better have a backup quarterback that you can count on.
I think that's look. You need a backup quarterback,
like a competent one, a competent one.
Yeah, but Super Bowl aspirations. You were the worst team in football last year at the end of the season. That's a mighty damn jump to go from that to Super Bowl aspirations. I'd like to see a team that gets off the field on third down.
Okay, if you talk to Jeffrey Lurie, now every year they want to win. Sure. But do you think truth serum? I think Howie Roseman thinks they're going to be one of the elite teams in the NFC.
He better.
No, but I believe he thinks it and he's looking at it. And I think a lot of people will look at the Eagles and still come up with that. I don't get it right now. I don't get it either. With the defense in the state that it is, but it's way too early. Again, it's way early to be judging what we've seen. There are a lot of things to be done. I thought Howie was going to swoop in like Batman, and we were going to see dynamic moves on the defensive side of the ball. And no, I do not think Bryce Huff is.
You still could.
He could. Oh, he might.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's safeties out there to be had. If this time tomorrow we're talking about Patrick Queen being signed as a linebacker and CJ back in the safety spot, I think we're all pretty happy.
I'm feeling good about that. I'm still not going to feel good on the money paid Huff, but I don't. It's because I haven't seen what he can be. And Pat, we've talked about this before. The idea is, as Barrett Brooks pointed out, they're paying him for what they think he can be.
Yeah,
they're not paying him on what they know he is.
I feel like that's very similar to what the Eagles did with Hassan Reddick. They were paying him for what they think he can be, and not what they know he. I mean, Hassan Reddick was coming off of back-to-back seasons, but he was doing so in different defenses, and apparently there was a lot of NFL teams that still were hesitant because the deal that Hassan Reddick signed was very team-friendly. So
was that 45 for 3?
Yeah. Someone on Twitter, I forget who it was, equated it to the Javon Hargrave signing. You had a rotational guy, you brought him in here, you probably overpaid a little bit, but if it ends up working out and you end up getting double-digit sacks from a guy, I don't think any of us are going to care about snap counts or whatnot.
I don't remember Javon Hargrave being a situational guy like Huff is. I don't.
But once again, if he gets 10 sacks,
it's a different position. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's all I care about is the production on the field.
Hey, Chris joins us on The Fanatic. Chris, good morning.
How you doing?
Good, buddy.
Now, have you forgotten about Nick Foles and what he did as a backup and taking the team? Marcus Mariota, yeah, he hasn't done anything lately, but I feel backing up Jalen and learning the system, having Saquon now, if it's needed, I think they just need to focus on building that defense up, not worrying about a backup.
I mean, the backup quarterback would be pennies on the dollar. That doesn't ding they don't have to worry about not having the money to be able to do it.
Like that somebody in that needs to learn the system, and it's just playing catch up at that point. Marcus, he's been there, he knows the system, and it would be a good fit.
Yeah, I'm not a Marcus Mariota fan. You obviously are. I've seen enough of them. I think the book's written, and I think you're screwed if you have to use them. That's me. I think you're
We're
screwed.
talking about Marcus Mariota on a day of free agency. I don't.
No, I mean, it's just as far as it is part of building a roster.
Yeah, they're going to need a backup. But like you said, you talked about priorities earlier, John. Where does that fall? Where does backup quarterback honestly fall for priorities?
I mean, just don't want to see it not addressed.
No, it's going to be addressed. They're not going to go into the season and go, oh, my God, we forgot to get a backup quarterback.
No, I got that.
They're going to have somebody. Look, they're going to get somebody. It's not going to be anybody that's thrilling because guess what? That's why they're a backup quarterback.
Hargrave with the Steelers, by the way, 542, 477, 454, and 696 in his 4 years with the Steelers. He was hardly at that position, at his position group, that was a pretty strong performer. That was a pretty strong contributor.
Well, I mean, but still, I'd rather them sign a guy that had 10 sacks and 400 snaps or whatever it is, and sign a dude that had 6 snaps and 800. I mean, the guy that had 800 snaps and has 6 sacks, I know what he's going to give me. I don't know what Bryce Huff's going to give me with more snaps.
I did not, and I, as I said, I raised my hand. I did not. I had to go watch video of Bryce Huff and go read about Bryce Huff. It wasn't like I went, wow, they signed Bryce Huff, or I can't stand the signing, because it to me that's a little different. There's he was and good job, Brendan, comparing the snaps. Huff with the Jets, 296, 337, 191, and 480. Last year a career high. So I just it's a guy who they better have good analysis on him as far as being a guy that they can really count on because it does appear it was the he could be an ascending player. Hopefully he's an ascending player.
Yeah.
That they see him, and in this it tells me more. Don't get rid of Reddick. Find a way to keep him. Then I'd love this. Then I'd love it. I'd love the signing.
Hey, my perfect scenario is you have 3 edge rushers now that you can look. Obviously, Reddick's going to get the most snaps if these 3 guys stay here. But Sweat is a guy that has reached double-figure sacks, as is Huff now. If you keep the 3 of them, and then here's my perfect case scenario: you keep the 3 of them. Season comes along, maybe right before the season starts. Boom! Here's an extension for Hassan Reddick. Then at the end of the season, we'll just, if we can afford to get Swift back here, if he played well enough this year that it warrants that, sure, we could take a look at that. But yeah, if they go in with these 3 guys as your edge rusher, main edge rushers, and then you have other guys behind them, good. Here we go.
Like Brandon Graham.
Wow, that's he's a limited guy.
Yeah, but he
Nolan Smith has to progress.
Sure. But Brandon Graham was a guy last year who played like 400 snaps. Like pretty much played a little less than what Huff did over the course of a season.
Yeah.
I mean, and Brandon Graham, everybody looked at as just, he didn't play much. He did that. The 10 sacks is great. It's a question of where you think it's going to, what are the priorities, and how does this move forward for this Eagles team?
Well, he's a specialist, and you have to be careful because he's horrible against the run, Huff is.
Terrible.
So, do you want him out there on non-passing downs? That's why I'm saying, I don't think the addition of Huff means one of the other guys is gone. I think it's a rotational thing that would be ideal.
We have a lot more questions, and if you want to get a thought in, you can at 610-632-0975. Remember, stay all day long with the Fanatic. Make sure that you are listening to Andrew in middays, and the best show ever. We'll keep you updated on anything that breaks as free agency rules the day here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Busy day. I'm Pat Egan. This sports update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Staples Stores provides innovative products and services for small business, remote work. Teachers and parents explore more at your local
You're dead to us now. To Saquon Barkley. It might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Your team doesn't offer you. And I don't understand. I mean, now Tiki's doing sports talk radio. So he might just want the attention.
You think?
You think that's what it is?
Oh, my God. I've never seen anybody beg for attention so much.
And this story.
Are you seriously? You're going to bitch like that over a guy? Yeah, you were lucky enough to pretty much. Tiki, did he spend his whole career in New York?
As far as I know, he's
Okay.
He tried to make a comeback and failed at it.
You're one of the very, very, very few in all of sports that had the luxury to do that. I found it ridiculous. And I heard more. You and I were talking about this before the show today, John, on a national radio show. Somebody saying, I'm not even going to call you by your first name anymore. I'm going to call you by Russell because that's the name you were given. I can't believe you did this. You went to the Eagle. Are these grown men talking?
I got to tell you, Giant fans did not handle it well. And
fans, I can understand.
Yes, but
like
this
Tiki
is that
Barber's
right.
probably friendly with Saquon. I mean, my God, you're in a fraternity that is very, very limited of professional players, no matter your sport. You're a professional football player. You can't understand that a guy went somewhere else to play for more money,
or for the fact that he got offered the money. I mean, literally, his team didn't offer him the money. I mean, it's like I don't even understand it.
I don't
that he
get
would do
it a
that.
little bit. Yeah,
Like,
you're dead to me.
Really? That's a little strange.
Okay.
That the "you're dead to me" thing is just so funny. I like how Saquon responded to Tiki Barber. Said, "You've been a hater since I got to New York, and all the dead to me talk. Don't smile in my face when you see me." Saquon told him.
Yeah.
Flat out responded. Because look, this is supposed to be now the one thing is this. It didn't work out. It didn't work out for Saquon in New York, but I certainly don't for a second believe that I'm putting him in any way on the suspects list of why it didn't. That organization has been poorly run.
Oh, it's horrible. Just their offense alone. Like, as Philadelphia fans, you're sitting here wondering, why the hell are they not addressing that offensive line? Their offensive line was horrible. And then you signed Daniel Jones to a big contract, and they're like, really? We down here in Philly, we're applauding. Good job on that. How do you think Saquon felt about all that? You don't have an offensive line. You put your money in the wrong quarterback, and then you have this guy who's a Jersey guy that's coming in there to play for you. His head's got to be spinning like, oh, my God, what am I doing here? So he got out.
I'm glad to see it for him.
Guess how smart he was. He went to one of the best organizations in all of football. If we're being honest, we've talked about that before. Wins or losses, the Eagles just are that. Like, I don't know how someone that was in that fraternity for so long, specifically at the same position, comes out with this kind of reaction.
So what's more important to you, Pat, linebacker or secondary? As we're waiting. Thank you.
Yeah, linebacker for sure.
Are you thinking that because of the bodies that they potentially already have in-house?
A little bit, but also if they sign a competent linebacker, it shows me that they actually might have done an organizational change in philosophy.
Okay.
And that's the bigger ramification of it. So I do think they have okay people in-house for secondary, but linebacker, they have nobody. So you need somebody.
You need to.
Other than Zach Baun, of course. Can't forget
Zach Baun, we need to make sure that it.
Yeah, that just reeks to me of is Sean Bradley under contract yet, or do they have to read up?
I don't think so.
Up him? Yeah, like that's a replacement, special team, emergency line, break glass here if you need a linebacker. That's all that is to me. I see nothing more, especially at his age. He's 27 years old. He's been in the league for a while. He's never been a starter. So I don't think they're bringing him in here to be a starter. That's like a special team pickup. Replace this guy here.
Let's not just assume that, though, because of the fact that this is a guy who this is an organization that has many, many times not addressed. They go with bargain basement linebackers.
Well, they go with guys also that were on other teams that at least started and made tackles. Like, what was it, Zaire White? Was that his name?
Zaire Smith.
No, Zaire White.
I'm kidding. No, Kazir White.
Kazir White, not Zaire. Kazir White comes in here. He had a boatload of tackles the year before with what was it, San Diego. You bring guys in here, you're like, that's not a big name. And then you look at their stats and you're like, well, at least they started. This guy doesn't even start. And he's 27 years old. It's not like it's a 23-year-old and you're saying, well, you can grow him into a starter. Nah, this guy's a backup. If they try to wean him in or carve him into being a starting linebacker, then yeah, I'm going to be as pissed off as everybody else.
Did you see the story about Mo Hassan?
We say Mo.
He was a backup quarterback in college football, so you probably don't know him. But he was the backup quarterback at Vanderbilt. So let me just put it this way. Backup quarterback at Vanderbilt. And he says that he has on a podcast, that the Momentum podcast, I guess he's part of. He says that he was at a rooftop bar, Jason Aldean's Kitchen and Rooftop Bar in Broadway in Nashville, when he was approached by an Italian mobster. And he used the term, yes. The Italian mobster came up to him.
Are there any other kind of mobsters?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Mo Hassan. And he said, we offer between $250,000 and $300,000 to quarterbacks to fix games. So he claims that this Italian mobster, as he calls it, came up to him and offered him $250,000 to $300,000 because that's what they offered to fix games.
To backup quarterbacks who have no say in the outcome of the game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So the one thing I'm thinking is before I just set it aside and said, okay, maybe this sounds so stupid, it's not. There is it could be give us access to who's injured, give us access to how's the starter been practicing this week. Sometimes it can be a funnel of information. Do I believe they're paying the backup quarterback at Vanderbilt $250,000 to $300,000? And it says to fix games. You can't fix the game unless you're in the game.
Yeah.
But, how much do you believe in this stuff still going on? Football, to me, would be one of the ones that I would probably, if you don't get to a quarterback, you probably aren't being able. You could fix a game if you had a quarterback in your back pocket.
The backup quarterback?
No, not the backup. Yeah. But if you had a starting quarterback in your pocket, you could. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Starting quarterback could help throw a game. But who else? How many would you need in a baseball game? If you got a pitcher, right?
Well, 1919 will tell you needed 8 of them.
Which, by the way, a secret isn't a secret if 2 people know it. So, 8 people knowing it. That's a conspiracy. That doesn't work. But I guess you could have a starting pitcher throw a game.
Yeah, that helps.
You could, yeah.
One guy could throw a baseball game if it's the starting pitcher.
He could try to, but if I'm a manager and I see he's giving up 3 runs in 2 innings or whatever, I'm probably pulling him quickly. And then, it's up to the team to overcome his bad outing.
You don't see many starting quarterbacks get pulled in the NFL.
No.
That's a rare one. So you get a starting. I'm just thinking is how many games could actually be affected by one guy throwing it. In hockey, I guess a goalie could.
Goalie could absolutely, yeah.
A goalie could throw a game.
You start giving up shots in the parking lot.
Yeah, basketball would be kind of easy. Turnovers, bad shots.
Would it have to be? Would it have to be a point guard?
No, it could be a star player, somebody that shoots a lot. Somebody that if. No, it doesn't. It takes for somebody to play out of their element in order to be a worse for the team. But again, you have a coach that can sub somebody out if they notice that.
I just love the fact that he goes, the Italian mobster approached him. That's great.
Kind of weird.
The Italian mobster came up to me as opposed to, hey, I'm with the Italian mob. We want you to throw. We want you to help us. We pay between $250,000 and $300,000 to have you throw games. Now, backup quarterbacks can't do that, but it is interesting because it's one of those fascinating things where we've seen it. Referees can fix games. And I wonder if John Tortorella would think the referees were trying to fix that one the other night, Pat.
Well, unfortunately, there's a scandal going on locally about point shaving and fixing games.
And what did you think about that story, Pat?
Believed it, unfortunately.
Okay, you think
NIL is an issue at Temple, and they're not doing much this season. So if those kids were approached about point shaving, if you're not getting NIL money, it's like, all right, this is an easy alternative.
Or would you think it would be more just roll over?
No, I don't think it. The fact that they were being monitored is apparently as long as they've been being monitored. The whole thing is fishy. And I think with that situation, the one that you talked about at Vandy, I know there was a case with a college in PA that offered a kid money before it was legal. And they offered him money basically so he'd be able to go back to the higher recruited guys and tell them, you're not going to believe what this school gave me. So then those kids were like, oh, wait, he's not very good. I'm sure I can get more money. And I think maybe if this story has a modicum of truth to it, it could be, you go to the backup quarterback and say it. And then maybe the backup quarterback tells somebody, and then that's how you get guys in on it.
That's not a bad thing. And you know what? I did not think of that.
That's reaching. But I mean,
No, but I mean, it's a good theory.
If I was a person in organized crime looking to make an impact still in sports with NIL going on, I'm finding schools with no NIL or very little NIL support.
Right.
And I'm going after their players. And I'm like, well, look, you're not getting paid X, Y, and Z like these other schools' kids. I can help you out with that.
Yeah, my old boss at the Daily News texted me, and he said, great work by the Temple. This was last week when you were out. Great work by the Temple's news guys who found out that Temple NIL for football and basketball combined was less than LaSalle.
That's incredible. That's truly incredible.
These guys put it in their story that they wrote about, about what may have gone on. So, yeah, this whole NIL thing, it's weird talking to college coaches years ago, a few years ago, and you guys know who I'm talking about or whatever, and talking about this, and it's just, when you see I don't want to say disdain because that's a big word, but when you see the trouble in their eyes about, oh, my God, look, this could cause really bad things to happen, look, we've seen a lot of coaches retire lately, right? We've seen a lot of great coaches get out of the game. We've seen the I don't want to say demise, but the shrinking of college basketball in a lot of people's eyes. You can be 4 players getting paid. I understand that. But, man, it's taken a toll.
Well, I mean, if you look at like a Jay Wright walking away in his freaking prime, where he was just still incredibly dominant.
Yeah.
Had many, many good years left to go. Nick Saban walking away. Now, at 72's walking away is different.
Yeah, it is.
That's a little different.
72's not, old anymore.
But he made it clear why he walked away.
Yeah, Mike Krzyzewski.
Yep.
Not
one to deal
I heard
with.
There might be a very prominent college basketball coach leaving at the end of this season. It's just, and when you talk to college coaches about it, it's just coaches have answers to problems. That's why they're coaches. If I went to a coach and said, dude, you're graduating a 2,000-point scorer. Yeah, I know, but we have this. They have answers. I've talked to many college coaches about this. They don't have answers. You try to say all right, say you go to Temple and say, hey, how do you compete? How do you compete with not only just people in your conference, but the local schools here? First thing I'm going to say is, well, we had this recruit, but we could only offer him $15,000, and that school over there offered him $30,000. That's what it's come to.
No, it has.
And,
it has.
Is it for the betterment of college basketball? I've yet to see it.
Well, one of the things is that I think it's for the shrinking of college basketball, is that there are going to be a certain amount of programs that get that corporate support. Because, again, the vast majority of dollars that are spent in the NIL game is pledged by corporations that advertise, and throw money at it. What is Texas A&M? No, is it Texas A&M or Texas Tech? I think it's Texas Tech or one of the two. It's $50,000 per player. Per player, like you can just offer
and the
right there.
walk-ons get their scholar, like they're basically they're walk-ons, but they're not because their tuition's paid for.
Because they're getting paid. That's a great deal. But
I remember seeing a story on Real Sports probably 2 years ago when all this kicked off about the Utah State team.
Because they had
Utah
somebody.
State football, and they had some guy that owned a protein bar company. He would show up and hand out checks. Like it was literally like a check ceremony, and it was every 2 weeks he would show up. He would hand out the checks to the players. This is Utah State.
And the players give their social media up, like they give social media love, and they do that. That might be. Is that the one that Kevin Durant's involved with?
I don't know.
The Kind Bar?
No.
It's not?
No, it was. I don't remember what the protein bar was, but it sounded like a very bro protein bar.
There you go. Bob, you said something you saw yesterday with the Phillies. Sort of jumped out at you as we get, by the way, 16 days, Pat. Any pulse yet?
No.
16 days.
No.
Well, I'll
Wow,
give you a pulse because what they threw out there yesterday is what's going to happen in 16 days.
Okay, so see, now Pat has to pay attention. Pat, pay attention. You have to pay attention.
Yankees yesterday.
I'm tuning out.
You had listen up, Pat. You had Zach Wheeler on the mound. That's probably somebody that's going to pitch about 30-some games for you this year.
I would hope so.
Maybe
yeah.
even game one. So here was your starting lineup. Kyle Schwarber leading off. Trey Turner hitting second. Bryce Harper hitting third. JT Realmuto hitting fourth. Bryson Stott 5. Alec Boehm 6. Nick Castellanos 7th. Your left fielder, your seventh fielder. Center fielder. There's your opening day starting lineup right there. I'm convinced of it.
You're absolutely convinced.
Absolutely 1,000% there it is.
I'm not.
It's not surprising.
No, it's not surprising, but I'm not against it.
When the three of us said, all right, what do you think Rob Thompson's opening lineup's going to be? We all had Schwarber, Turner, Harper.
Yes.
Like 4, we went right-handed hitter because, that's what he loves to do. He loves lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. So he's got the righty. Then you go lefty and Stott. Then you go righty and Boehm. And then, of course, you have to have Castellanos 7th because you're not going to put either Rojas, Pache, Marsh, whoever. You're not going to throw them there. So it's kind of the exact order that we all thought. And I think it's there, plain and simple. He threw it out there yesterday.
And Zach Wheeler rounding into shape beautifully. So that's
yeah, no hits yesterday. A couple of walks, but he said his splitter was really good. He felt I thought I heard something that he said he felt a little tight, but he looked really good out there.
There are certain pitchers that I don't worry. It's like Aaron Nola. I worry about base runners. Zach Wheeler, I don't, and I don't know why. Like I don't know. I mean, there's obviously
he doesn't get any up.
Well, I mean, it's like when Zach Wheeler gets runners on base, I'm not sweating. The minute Aaron Nola lets up base runners, I'm like, oh, jeez.
Because Zach Wheeler isn't sweating. Aaron Nola is.
Oh, he's a sweater.
Like, no, we see it. We see when guys get on base how agitated. And you know what? I read a story a couple of weeks ago where he said, yeah, it took me time because you guys know how different I am when runners are on base. And then you throw a pitch clock on me. Yeah, I was worried about that. And I told you, one of the things that who was it? Cotham, is that his name?
Caleb
Cotham. Told him to do is, look, you keep looking over at the pitch clock over your right shoulder. And now when you go to throw, your shoulder's already wide open. Look at the pitch clock over your left shoulder. That way you're still getting to see the runner and the pitch clock, and you're keeping your shoulders closed at the same time. So Nola has talked about it, how much, anxiety he gets having a runner on base now with the clock also. But he's learning to take steps to make him feel better.
Already looking at how this free agency period begins and wondering how it affects the Eagles, what other teams do. And 2 teams on the Eagles schedule, both of them are planned to be home games. I guess they could either of them could end up being the game in Europe, in South America, excuse me. Atlanta improves at quarterback and goes out and gets Kirk Cousins. Pittsburgh goes and gets Russell Wilson. I would tend to believe that's, at least with Pickett, that's a little more dangerous, potentially, with Russell Wilson, with Danger Russ. And I just keep looking at the I'm still watching these free agency moves and saying, how does it affect the Eagles? What other teams are doing? And, see how that's going to be potentially a problem for them down the line.
Well, Washington brought in Eckler. I thought that was an interesting move there.
That's nice. Did you know? I was shocked at the amount of money he got. Because Eckler got a really, he didn't get in the neighborhood of that DeAndre Swift.
No, he's like $5.5 million, I think. I think he got 2 years, 11.
He got a lot less than DeAndre Swift. There must be something, Pat, with Eckler as far as that people just know that he's not the guy. As
Kellen Moore screwed him up.
The injury. I think it's the injuries that screwed him up.
If you want to go negative, Kellen Moore screwed him up.
He didn't do anything with that.
Ruined his career.
They would
do the same thing to Saquon. 610-632.
Yeah. It's the but I'm a little shocked by that. Washington, I guess, I'm not expecting much because they're going to have a rookie quarterback. Most likely. They're going to go and draft a quarterback of the future and try to do something else. I'm watching these teams, though, and seeing who improved. Green Bay is one, though. That's one that Like adding Xavier McKinney in there to me just gives them I don't know, an arrow pointed in the right direction.
Josh Jacobs is interesting. Put a running back who just 2 years ago led the league in rushing. That's a good get by them.
I wonder about, but the thing is, Aaron Jones is a really good running back.
Yeah, they just let him go. Boom, done.
Because they thought Jacobs was the better option there.
Yeah, and he just signed with Minnesota.
So he did sign with Minnesota.
Yeah. Yep.
So he's going to stay in there. Minnesota, I don't know what they're doing. I'm surprised that they would let Kirk Cousins walk out the door, except if maybe they said we've just seen enough. We know we're not going to win a Super Bowl with this guy, so we're going to let him go.
I guess that's probably has to be what it is.
Start over.
Yeah, I mean, are you going to win with a Kirk Cousins? You're going to be that 11-6 team that maybe gets in the playoffs, maybe doesn't, and then the bright lights shine. Is he the guy to do it?
I don't think he is, but he's that. I think they're the clear favorites now in the NFC South. So the Falcons there have enough. They have enough talent that now they've got a quarterback. They would have been in the playoffs last year. One more win.
I tweeted this out, so I'll just say it on air. But I feel like Kirk Cousins going from the Vikings to the Falcons is so apt because both those franchises are the Kirk Cousins of the NFL. You're just never worried about them. Yeah, they might make the playoffs. They're not doing anything. You're never like, damn, all right. You'll have a couple pundits who go, all right, Kirk Cousins there, and he's gonna make them a sleeper team. He won't. He's just he'll
make them
fine.
a much better team.
Like he will make them better, but both the Falcons and Vikings, you're never worried about those two franchises actually contending for anything. They might contend for a division, but that's about it.
Well, who worries you in the NFC?
San Francisco still.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dallas, they haven't done. They didn't do anything week one, but Dallas, Detroit.
I don't think the list is that long.
It's not.
As far as teams that you go,
yeah, I didn't. Break
the Eagles really the Eagles haven't fallen out of the top 5 in the NFC despite the finish of last year.
No,
they're a top 5 roster in the NFC.
So I think it's your normal people, right? You mentioned them.
Yeah, I'm not breaking news
Dallas
here.
And Detroit. I
decided to mention division winners.
Yeah, no. Who's your up and coming maybe team like Detroit was this time last year? We said, oh, watch out for them. Is there a watch out?
Rams.
Really?
Yes. The
why?
Rams, because they almost were a playoff team this year, and the passing game of the Rams
is very good.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you get Cup and Nakua.
If you address a couple more, and Cup's coming back healthy. I mean that team I think is going to be really, really dangerous. By the way, that's another one I think that's on the schedule. You're going to LA again next year.
Yeah. How about Tampa? I mean, I know Baker Mayfield doesn't really scare anybody, but they saw fit to give him $33 million a year. You got back Mike Evans. They thumped you in the playoffs.
I would go
year.
Green Bay over Tampa.
Oh, Green Bay would
absolutely.
That's a good one, Pat.
But we just picked two teams that made the playoffs last year. So when you look at up and coming,
yeah, that's true.
It's tough for me to go, all right, they're up and coming. They made the playoffs. Like, I think Arizona's going to be better. I think they're going to be much better. I don't know if they're to contend for anything, including a division crown or.
They whooped our backsides last year at the end.
Well, at the end, everybody was. I mean, me, you, and Bob could have given the Eagles a fight. But I think they're going to be better. I don't know what that means though in terms of if they're going to contend for a division because they're probably not. You're in a division with San Francisco.
So you're saying we are saying is where I was trying to get to with this. It's just Dallas, right?
Well, in terms
or is that being arrogant?
I think San Francisco.
No. In the division.
East? Yeah, it's just Dallas. Yeah.
Is that being too arrogant?
No.
Okay, so it's just Dallas we're worried about. Just stay ahead of Dallas. You're guaranteed you get ahead of them. You get a home game, and anything can happen. Then you start out at home. You don't want to see that slip out. And honestly, the way things go in the NFC East, nobody repeats. And I don't know if that's just a strange thing. And now that I don't know if you saw the Dak Prescott story as he's trying to negotiate a contract extension, the woman trying to extort him in a sexual assault case in Dallas. I mean, is what he's filing a counterclaim on her, saying that she's accusing him and was trying to shake him down in a sexual assault case. I mean, there's there could be you never know distractions from year to year.
Oh, yeah.
What it's going to be.
Yeah.
As far as the Cowboys. Plus, every single I can't get past this too. Every single one of the Cowboys coaches on a 1-year contract.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah, you brought that up before. That is strange. It's a weird way to go into a season. Now, talking to Trey Thomas a couple of weeks ago, or months ago about coaches and all that, and he's adamant. It doesn't matter. Players don't care about coaches' contracts and stuff. They just want somebody to tell them where to be and how to play and what to do, and you do it. For Trey, it was that way.
What about for the employees, though? The employees themselves, for the coaches themselves. Does a coach?
They're on prove-it deals, right?
Or is a coach saying, "I've got one eye on the door. I've got one eye on the door because this organization doesn't believe in me."
Well, you have to be very confident to say that. That means you're of the belief you're going to get a job somewhere else.
Yeah,
Other coaches might be like, damn, I better prove myself, otherwise I'm out of a job.
Right. I just think it would create discord. That there'd be a lot of nervous coaches out there. And look, the Cowboys, anything we can do to see that. It does look like right now the Eagles are in a situation where they're in a division that the Patriots used to be in, where two teams are just not ready to compete yet. And so you just got to beat out the one to find your way in and hopefully not lose games to the Giants like you did last year. Be able to find a way to do that.
Giants just lost their best offensive player.
Yeah,
that's right. He came to Philadelphia.
Will there be a move on defense by tomorrow? Like a splashy
We'll be talking about something tomorrow, yes.
Pat, what would we be talking about?
But I don't think it'll be a
splashy?
Big one. Yeah.
So you're not looking at a C.J. Gardner-Johnson or
I think it'll be a name that we probably have to Google, and it's not for much money.
Did you have to do that for Baum?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Absolutely.
And I was less than impressed. Even
Saints,
Google didn't have a lot on him.
No, I thought Schefter was just making up a name.
It's like, well, let's see. We'll talk to Schefter. We're going to talk to Schefter tomorrow morning.
He said it might be tight, John. He told us last week, he goes, man, I'm going to be really busy, but I'll make it work for you guys.
Well, that's nice and kind of him.
Yeah,
we appreciate that very, very much. Thank you very much for that. I know that Andrew Salchunas will have his eye on it all day long, and they got their breaking news. Tom Alvar's in with them, so they got their breaking news sounder. You never know when you're going to hear it, what's going to happen. And then, of course, the best show ever will have you covered all afternoon. And Sixers basketball tonight, Flyers hockey over on MMR. Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Lots of football and more hoops and hockey tomorrow, of course. John Kincade Show. Have a great